Great American Landowner. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 481. Time. Wells seemed to know what Zhou was thinking. He bumped his chest with him and said, "It's that simple." Then he picked up the ball and said, "Let's go. There are extra points. You kick this ball, just like we just practiced." After Perez helped Zhou put the ball in place, everyone looked at him. Feeling everyone's gaze, Zhou took a deep breath, ran straight towards the ball, raised his right foot, and shot it hard. During the process, Hayes sighed, "Well, the feel of the ball is not bad." He looked up at the ball proudly. "Hey, where's the ball?" This makeshift team looked at Zhou expectantly, but, the ball didn't go in. "Fuck, you're really a novice." At this moment, everyone brought Zhou back to reality. "Oh my god, it didn't go in." Zhou is too embarrassed to look at his teammates now. He thought that he would blind the coach's eyes, but he didn't expect that reality would bring him back to his original state. "It's okay, Jess, you're still a rookie, and you still have a long way to go. Take your time." Wells ran over and looked at him with a smile and said, "Yeah, this is just the beginning, Jess. Don't lose hope. We at least got 1 point." Teammates, or more accurately, members of the fraternity, came over to comfort him one by one. "Okay, guys, I'm not as fragile as you think. This game is getting more and more interesting." He shouted again, "Guys, let's do it again. I will definitely be able to knock down these old birds." "Who?" Everyone responded in unison. Coach Campella in the distance has been paying attention to the movements on the court. "This kid's physical fitness is really good. It would be a good choice if he could be transformed into a defensive player." He thought about it and looked into Jay Chou's eyes, which flashed with light. Time is really worthless in the eyes of the least valuable people, but in the eyes of some people, it is really worth every inch of time. But no matter how much it is worth, what should pass away must pass away, and what should pass away must pass away, and the sunrise and sunset repeat themselves. In a blink of an eye, Jay Chou has spent more than 2 months in Stanford. During this period, he has lived a very fulfilling life, learning knowledge every day. He also has to go to the rugby team for training. In the second week of the team, he officially became a member of it. His performance during this period was so bright that it blinded the coach's eyes, and it deeply hurt the physical and mental members of the team. Whether it was knocking him down or intercepting him, the uncomfortable feeling made them deeply mourn for their future opponents. But before that, they had to mourn for a while. Jay Chou, this teammate, is not only able to pit the enemy, but now he is also very good at pitting his teammates. Zhou has almost learned the basics of biology graduate students in the school. After several tests, his results are obvious to all. The principal praised him and said that this kid is not here to waste time. He is indeed a good boy who comes to study. The local media in California reported it very enthusiastically, and most of the American media also reported it as entertainment. At least Zhou's fans on Facebook have increased by hundreds of thousands, just a little bit short of million. It makes him feel that he is now a personal media at the level of a TV station. Every time he sends a message, it can be listened to by nearly 1 million people. As long as they dare to ask, that is their business. Whether to send it or not depends on his own mood. Within 2 months, the bun shop has been built. The name is very simple. Zhou directly calls it Bun King. As soon as he took out this name, he felt that it was simple, domineering and meaningful. Compared with that Burger King or something, it is really not much different. But at least it is easy to say and plan, which is the best advantage. And this advantage is also one of the main reasons why the 3 managers of Baozi King agreed to this name. Zhou, who was with him at the time, was almost laughing so hard that he was much happier. After the meeting, he patted Zhou on the shoulder and praised him for being so talented and being able to come up with such a meaningful name for the store. Zhou was depressed at the time. "I was thinking of calling it Bear Hug Baozi, but isn't this thing given to the fast food restaurant? I can't call it Guguli or Pandabuli Baozi, right?" Zhou was also confused at the time, and he almost laughed himself to death. Because he was short of oxygen, because he laughed too much. Jess, you are so funny. Why don't you call it pandabuli? Just change gubuli to mayobuli baozi. The American people will also discuss this issue with you. Think about it. Many Americans keep pets, and even more keep dogs. If you really give it this name, then those dog owners will see the name and think that they won't eat or care about the dog. So how can I, a human being, continue to care about it? But cats are different. Think about it. Cats. Zhou was still thinking about talking at that time, but was interrupted by Zhou. If his sister let him continue, he would have no peace today. In this way, the name of the bun shop was determined in the commotion. On the day when the first flagship store opened, Zhou even took a leave from school and went to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony of the store. In the past 2 months, the people Zhou hired did not work in vain. Not only did they develop several buns that are more in line with the taste of the American people, but they also added beverages. Coke and the other two will not come in, but other beverages are not suitable for eating with buns. Having worked in Panda Express, he immediately thought of the bean beverages that Chinese people like to drink. The most famous one he knew was soy milk. This thing has been passed down for a long time in the history of China. Especially when eaten with fried dough sticks, the taste and enjoyment are first class. Of course, soy milk alone is not enough. For this kind of beverage, there are 3 sizes of cups: large, medium and small. In other words, it would be too cheap to put 3 things on it. Fortunately, Zhou had thought of it at that time. Isn't soy milk made from soybeans? Since there are soybeans, there must be mung beans and red beans. As for white beans, he really didn't know if there were any. Among the red, yellow, blue, and green, there were definitely no blue beans. So Zhou gave an order and made red beans and mung beans into drinks for the bun shop. They are red bean paste and mung bean paste respectively, and the taste is definitely suitable for most people. There are not only beans in it, but also ingredients. He specially built a large water storage machine to store space water. Update quickly. Pure text chapter 482, Foodie. As for the water in the space, Zhou always asked the people in the steamed bun shop to go to the farm and bring a truck of water every time. The farm has the clean water he collected, which is transferred in a larger water storage tank, which is almost equivalent to a large small building. It is built inside the farm, not far from the place where the giant tortoise lives. Every time the water level drops to a certain level, the people in the farm will go to the spring that Zhou mentioned to add water to it. He installed a sensor in it. As long as the water volume drops to a certain level, he can receive information and then go back to add water. The amount of water in the river of vitality in the space is really incredible. Every time he releases so much water, the water volume does not drop. It's just that, if he releases too much, it will affect the balance of spiritual energy in the space, which also makes him dare not start the business of selling water in the future, which benefits mankind. Selling water seems to be a good business, but if it affects the spiritual energy in the space, it will not be worth the loss. Normally, it would be painful to plant some medicinal herbs that consume spiritual energy. Now he is selling water to benefit mankind. Isn't that just being full and bored? Although it is a bit too much to say that, if a man does not work for himself, he will be punished by heaven and earth. It is good to benefit his own people. As for such a great thing, let's talk about it when he is about to die. He can't do such a disadvantageous thing when he is alive. If it is a blessing to suffer a loss, then you will be happy. If you suffer losses all the time, big things can't be done. But if you can benefit others a little and earn US dollars for yourself, then you can do it. Zhou feels that he adds the water of vitality to food, not just for people to consume it, but also to make people healthier. Mixing the water of vitality with soy milk and other beverages, just a little bit can improve the taste a lot, so that the guests feel very good on their tongues and stomachs when they drink it. Many people with bad stomachs will feel much better after drinking this. This is why many white-collar workers like to come to his Baoziking for a drink when they are at work, and some even buy a few buns by the way, leaving their wish of losing weight to the future. When the 3 Baozikings opened, the business was not very ideal. However, as the management continued to use various tricks and made publicity advertisements, it gradually became known to people. Many Asians went in to try it first, and then white people and black people also slowly went to eat it. The delicious and nutritious buns quickly conquered the first batch of customers. As word of mouth spread, the business of Zhou Baoziking fast food brand finally picked up a bit. As for the Western restaurant, Atwood has been following up, and the one in Los Angeles has already started trial operation. The decoration in San Francisco will take some time, and Zhou is not in a hurry. He still knows that slow work produces fine work. 2 months later, it is almost Christmas, and the universities in the United States are also starting to have winter vacation, which is about a month's vacation. Jess, what are we eating today? Wells asked him seriously. Yeah, Jess, what do you think we should eat? Kaylee also chimed in. Perez's eyes lit up immediately, and he wanted to say something, but Zhou immediately glared at him, and the boy swallowed his words. But after hesitating for a while, he said as if he had decided to sacrifice himself heroically, Jess, it's been 5 days today, and we are going to have a holiday soon. How about we eat buns again? The last time, I didn't taste the flavor. I ate too fast. Zhou was instantly speechless. Do you think you are Zhu Beiji, or are you just a real pig? Even so, he was able to get into Stanford. He even doubted whether he had entered the wrong school. No, this guy seems to be a special sports recruit. He didn't get in, based on his grades. He is really a person who only grows muscles but not brains. There were still a few people who didn't speak at the back, and they immediately raised their fingers of admiration to Perez. They all sighed in their hearts that he was worthy of being the most fearless foodie. Just a while ago, there was a foodie who was not afraid of death. He looked like he was forcing everyone to have sex, but when he was training, he was hit by Zhou and felt like he was dying. When he went back at night, everyone helped him to wipe the medicine to remove the bruises. I forgot to mention that this medicine was provided by Zhou. Although it didn't taste good, and it was a little painful, the effect was surprisingly good. Almost everyone in the Holy Land Brotherhood had a bottle, and it was marked as only for members of the Brotherhood. No one doubted that Zhou had added a little bit of speciality, and it was really a little exciting to use. Zhou got priority in the Brotherhood. He didn't have to queue up for meals, and he had to wait for the toilet first. His efforts were awarded. After all, he said that the materials used in this medicine were not cheap. Needless to say, the Asians knew that there were several precious medicinal materials by smelling them. The green smell of ginseng was something that many people could smell. After they explained to everyone, they had a certain understanding of Zhou's generosity and had a better impression of him. Being loyal, being a decent person, and being generous to friends. These little virtues are really worth mentioning. Zhou looked at these foodies with contempt in Spanish, since he said last time that the recently popular Baozi Wong was his business, and he provided the recipe. Because everyone didn't believe in his craftsmanship, he made steamed buns in a rage, and took out the premium beef that was airlifted from the farm, and stored in his dormitory. After getting some vegetable ingredients, and making steamed buns for these people, these foodies didn't even want the food made by Bobby at that time. The top grade black caviar that was airlifted that day was also thrown aside, just to grab the steamed buns. Everyone almost fought, and in the end someone was sent to the hospital, and that person was Perez in front of him. It was really a bloody case caused by steamed buns, which was more real than the real incident. But Perez was not sent to the hospital because of a great fight, but because he ate too much steamed buns and had a stomach ache. He was holding it in on the way and didn't vomit, but that was probably because he was a little drunk at the time. Zhou and everyone else were all expressing their admiration for Perez. This guy really wanted to eat to the death. Yeah, Jess, the holidays are coming soon, but we won't be able to see each other for more than a month. I miss you so much that I don't know what to do. If I make buns, will that ease your longing in the future? Hey, Jess, how did you know? Perez, can you be any more stupid? Update Fast Pure Text Chapter 483 Lessons. At this time, Perez said loudly, as long as you cook, I can do it, Jess. This will ease my longing for you in the future. Perez's shouting like a declaration of love immediately attracted the attention of many men and women. Everyone looked over here, and Zhou, the focus of the crowd, and Perez entered everyone's eyes. Look, another gay couple broke up. Well, the holiday is coming soon. The Asian may have to go back to his country, and this guy will probably miss him for more than a month. The two people's conversation was whispered, but it was heard by him. Zhou immediately looked at the two people with a dark face. The expression was a bit vicious. The people in the fraternity saw Zhou suddenly staring at the two people with a bad expression. They thought that Zhou had a grudge against these two guys, and immediately stared at the two people who were chatting. The two guys were stared at by the muscular men together, and the two people who were just arranging the group of people, their legs were almost trembling. But they would not give in just like that. Although they did not know the so-called literati spirit of the Celestial Empire, it did not hinder their pride as intellectual elites. One of them looked a bit like Sir G. Sheldon. He looked at them with a little trembling, swallowed hard, and shouted loudly to Zhou and others, "Homosexuality is great, and people can't say it. It's just that your butt is itchy, which is a fact." What? After this Sheldon-like character said it, several people were a little stunned, and then looked at Perez strangely. Under their gazes, Perez got angry. "Fuck, why are you looking at me? This kid is scolding me. I told you not to shout." Zhou slapped his forehead and was speechless. Perez was also very depressed. There were many people looking at this side at this time. The strange look really made him very unhappy. So he planned to vent his anger on that kid. But when he turned around just now, where is that guy just now? The men in the crowd also remembered the culprit after hearing this, and they hadn't arrested him yet. But in the blink of an eye, the guy disappeared. Over there, I just saw him running towards the Academy of Fine Arts. One of the guys was looking at the beauty just now, and happened to see the Sheldon. The guys looked at each other, and Zhou shouted chase, and started running. "I must let that guy taste the taste of my fist," Perez said while running unhappily. The guys ignored the foodie and the idiot, and followed Zhou. After running for a while, Zhou finally saw the guy, and shouted to him, "Hey, man, your wallet fell." After running for a distance with his friends, Sheldon thought he had left the group of muscular men behind, so he didn't run as fast as he did at the beginning. In addition, that running method was also very tiring, so he jogged with his friends. He said to his friend with a smug look on his face, "Fortunately, I reacted quickly. After saying a word, I took advantage of their distraction and dragged you away. Think about those muscle guys now. They are probably still arguing about that butt. Haha." His friend was panting and wanted to praise him for his appearance. At this time, Zhou's voice came over, and he immediately changed his mind and said anxiously, "Hey, did you hear someone shouting that your wallet was lost?" Sheldon thought for a while and said hesitantly, "It seems so." After saying that, his hand had already touched the pocket where he usually put his wallet. But the pocket was still the same pocket, but the wallet, the touch in his hand, told him the result. Immediately, he shouted, "Ah, my wallet is still there." After saying that, he laughed triumphantly. This sentence almost made Zhou, who was following behind, fall down, and even this friend who looked like Sheldon was almost no exception. He was really embarrassed for the person next to him. But when he turned around and saw Zhou, his smug laughter stopped immediately. It was as if a duck was pinched by the neck, and the sound was indescribably uncomfortable. "Run!" the boy shouted immediately. "Where are you going?" Zhou shouted from behind. "But there is no need to guess the ending, you can know it. How could two pedantic people possibly outrun those people who are both morally, intellectually, and physically competent? Well, of course, although some people are in Stanford, their intelligence is still a little far from these proud children." After a while, several people walked out of the Academy of Fine Arts in a very happy mood, and those two people. Several people looked at the two people's gay-like postures on their mobile phones, and they were so happy. "Jess, you should have taught them a lesson just now," Perez said to Zhou, rubbing his hands. "Oh my god, Perez, can you please stop disgusting us?" In the dormitory building of the Holy Land at night, Zhou saw that these guys had already prepared the flour, eggs and other ingredients, and took out the big steamer he bought when he came. Everything was ready, just waiting for him, the top chef. Speechless, He glanced at the people who were waiting behind him. Okay, first of all, let me make it clear that we have to work together. No problem. Bobby, go grill the steaks, and a few people will come over to help. We will eat a little bit to whet our appetite. Zhou said. By the way, open 2 more bottles of red wine. Kaylee, go to my room and get them. They are in the box under the computer desk. 2 bottles will be enough. Then Zhou started to make buns and taught these Americans how to make them. Among the group of people, only Bobby, Wells, and Kaylee had the skills to be considered mature. Zhou couldn't bear to watch the others. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 484, The Wrapped Up American. Oh my god, Jennings, if you pinch out that meat, you must believe me, I can't help needing you again. Seeing Jennings' confused look, Zhou quickly repeated it in English. Jen's action of pinching the bun in his hand immediately seemed to be paused, and he put it there, and began to be careful not to let it burst again. Tom, pinch it gently. My god, didn't I say that you should use force on the tip? Don't you know that when you pinch a woman's breasts, you should use a little force with 2 fingers to pinch those 2 little dots? Hey, I like to suck it with my mouth, and I also like to touch the side peaks with my hands, Tom said with a depressed look. Haha. Tom, don't you know to pinch human nipples? Some people imitated Zhou words, and some parroted him to make fun of him. Yes, look, just like this. Knead it gently and tenderly. Oh, baby, you look so white. Put some ketchup on it. It's so white and feels good. Someone else picked up the bun and looked at it and started joking, but as he talked, he felt more and more that this thing really looked like a woman's peak. The little devil looked at Zhou helplessly and shrugged his shoulders, as if to say that he couldn't blame me. Zhou already felt the veins on his forehead throbbing, and he could hardly bear these so-called elite idiots. Okay, guys, you better go and chop the meat for me. My god, your skills really make me unable to bear to watch. Many people put down the buns in their hands in dismay, laughed and went to the piece of beef over there, and then took a chopping board to chop it. Jess, why don't you use a machine to wrap it? I remember that your fast food restaurant seems to be used by machines. The products made by machines are mainly labeled, but the buns they make don't taste as good as those made by hand. That's why you all like to eat my buns, and the ones in the store are ranked second. Zhou explained. Jess didn't tell you that he used premium beef and a bunch of fresh ingredients lifted in to make the buns we have. He also assigned a top chef to make them himself, and the freshness of the labeled products in the store can be guaranteed. But I remember that the meat doesn't seem to be from his farm, he said, pretending that you all know what I mean. Oh, everyone understood. The people sitting here were from upper class families, and they had naturally felt the difference in treatment since childhood. In the United States, if you have money, you can get priority service. Like the simplest thing is to take a taxi. When you want to take a taxi on the road, but no taxi stops for you. As long as you are willing to raise 3 or more fingers, indicating that you are willing to pay several times the price, you will definitely get priority service. This is spending money to buy time, spending money to buy service. In the world of the rich, as long as you have money and are willing to spend money, you can get the best service, which is definitely not the standard service. You guys. Zhou looked at them with amusement. While Perez was chopping the meat, he took a bite of the beef that Bobby had roasted. Immediately, the fragrant taste filled his mouth, and his taste buds were excited and happy. Then he secretly took a sip of the red wine, and after it settled in his mouth for a while, he slowly swallowed it. Oh my god, this is life. 10-year-old Cabernet Sauvignon was brewed in the best season of California that year. Paired with this beef, it is really a supreme enjoyment. He chewed it with enjoyment in his mouth, and did not forget to say, oh my god, my foodie Perez, can you stop eating and do some work? The fraternity members said dissatisfiedly. For those who have finished their own food, I will forgive his jealous and envious words. Perez said with a smug look. Don't you want to eat buns later? You are still eating steak and drinking red wine. Well said while pinching the buns, and the Americans' buns were the best among everyone, which surprised Zhou. I have a very good appetite, don't worry. I can eat more than a dozen buns later. Perez said with a smug look, and he chopped the beef on the cutting board in front of him. Fuck. I ate so fast just now, and this guy actually learned to enjoy food slowly. God, please give me another steak. Kedra, you should go and negotiate with Jess instead of praying to God. Because he can't give you a meal at this time, but my kind Perez can consider cutting off a small piece from here and let you try your appetite, as long as you promise to help me send 2 weeks of clothes to the dry cleaners next semester. He did not even consider Perez's conditions and raised a finger to the proud Perez. Zhou was making buns, and his mouth was a little itchy after being tempted by Perez. Just now, several people were making buns, and Bobby was grilling steak over there. He opened 2 bottles of Cabernet Sauvignon, and everyone ate a little to fill their stomachs. With such a big appetite, he can digest almost any amount of food, which allows him to enjoy food without scruples and release himself. He also picked up the red wine not far away, and took a sip carefully. The taste of the Cabernet Sauvignon in the past 10 years is really good, especially after it was put into the space to precipitate, and experienced the baptism of spiritual energy. The taste is not ordinary. It is mellow, silky, and a wine that is difficult to savor for a long time. It is really a good thing that should be savored carefully. For a guy like himself who has been corrupted by capitalism, Zhou has now become a complete captive of it, especially in this brotherhood. Now if he were to suddenly return to the days before, he felt that he would definitely go crazy. Before, he didn't know how much the saying it's easy to go from frugality to luxury, but it's hard to go from luxury to frugality meant. Now he definitely understands it. He also understands why many celebrities were very famous when they were young, and they continued to work hard to make money. They are really in that position and can't help themselves. After enjoying a rich life, it would be better to kill them if they are asked to live a poor life. So they always want to spend half of their lives to earn enough money to spend in their lifetime. Most of those who win the lottery suddenly get a lot of money, but they don't have the ability to spend it for a lifetime. In the end, when the money is gone, they can only spend their lives. Chapter 485 The Unlucky Person. Stanford at night was still full of academic atmosphere, but compared to the daytime, it had a softer night, but it was not quiet. On the road, or on the lawn, people were walking in 2s and 3s, or gathered in a circle, chatting with each other under the lights on the road. On the rest seats not far away, there were men and women sitting together and being sweet, and there were also men sitting together and being sweet. They were a model of love that should be open and honest. They were really open, except that they didn't have any balls. I don't know what activities the guys in the Holy Land have today. A group of people are actually in the dormitory building. There is no one from them outside. People sitting or lying on the lawn discussed. I don't know. There is no music, and it doesn't look like they are having a party in their building. They didn't invite the girls over. I can't tell what these guys are doing. Another person also analyzed. Why don't we go and take a look? One person suggested. The other people were obviously a little tempted. It was quite boring tonight. The fraternity they belonged to didn't organize any activities. It was Friday night. They didn't organize any activities. It was a waste of life. Okay, let's go and have a look. He got up and patted the grass pavilion. The girls in the sorority were also wandering today. The Shriners, who usually like activities, didn't hold any activities today. They didn't even have a party. Oh my god, this is really news. You know, the elite gathering place fraternity, which has been at odds with the Shriners for decades, held a lively costume party today. Many people have already gone there, but they have a deeper friendship with the Shriners. Many women are girlfriends of people from the Shriners, so they are not welcome in the elite gathering place. Besides, there is no shortage of women over there. A lot of hot girls have also entered the dormitories of people over there. It doesn't matter whether they are there or not. In fact, there is no hatred between the fraternities as in novels. It's just that these conflicts have been passed down for decades. The seniors have to abide by the tradition, which has been passed down from generation to generation. This cannot be changed by human power. It's okay for everyone to play around, but as the main body of the fraternity, they must not get along, just like the football derby. You players are good friends in private, and there is no problem with that. But once you are the representative of the club and the team, you must not get along with it, and you must speak from the opposite perspective of the past few decades. And at this time, if you say a little too much, no one will blame you. And some are racist fraternities. There is no way to say that. They like to play by themselves. Just don't bring your other colors. What else can you say? You don't even need to say it. This kind of people are people with more serious racial segregation. People in politics will not join this kind of fraternity. This will affect their future political career if they are not careful. In the United States, this kind of thing is really not a trivial matter, especially for senior American officials. Although they don't have the so-called political review, the people in Congress are not vegetarians. Even if you are the president's man, you will not be forgiven if you have a criminal record. After the president nominates a senior official in the United States, he must be reviewed by Congress, and Congress will not turn a blind eye to this. As a country, based on the rule of law, even if the president wants to be safe and sound, and put his confidence in the positions he wants, it will not be so easy and simple. Just like Clinton, a president of the United States, when this old guy was president, he made a lot of embarrassments when he was forming his own team. The attorney general he nominated was rejected by Congress again and again. The second one was still afraid, so he surrendered and withdrew. As for what happened, in fact, it was a very small thing. The person nominated by Clinton lost the nomination because he illegally hired a nanny and did not pay taxes to the nanny in the past. He was also ridiculed by the media for a while and finally paid a fine. You should know that this matter is very common in the United States. American law stipulates that children under the age of 12 cannot be left alone. As long as there are children under the age of 12 at home, parents will find someone to take care of them temporarily if they have to go out temporarily, and usually you have to comply with the federal minimum wage law to pay wages. Of course, you can pay a little higher, but if you pay less, it is illegal. And hiring a full-time nanny at home is not so common in the United States. At least there are only a handful of families with servants. Even Zhou himself now has only a few nannies, and it is far from the days of a dozen servants, let alone a group. And as a working class in the United States, if you want to hire a legal full-time nanny, there are indeed some difficulties. For example, those senior officials, their houses and cars, etc., are probably mostly paid in installments. That is, there will be a large fixed expense every month. In this way, other expenses will definitely rise. After all, to live up to your current status, although you don't need to be too extravagant, you can't be too shabby. So it may not be easy to hire a long-term nanny, especially for a person with formal US resident qualifications. It is rare to be a nanny for a long time. Compared with the little salary of being a nanny, it is better to go to a job where you can learn skills. Unless the nanny position can provide high salary, then there is room for negotiation. Therefore, where there is demand, there is a market. The illegal immigrants in the United States and foreigners with US residency naturally become a good source of nannies. They are willing to accept lower wages and will not easily jump to another place. In order to keep this job, they will work hard and seriously. For families who want to have a stable and good nanny, it is not only the best choice, but also the only choice. The same is true for the two nominated future attorney generals. It is really unlucky to say. So this kind of problem is really a common question in the United States. It is equivalent to something that everyone knows, that is, your family has used it, and my family has also used it. As a result, because of this small matter, two dignified future attorney generals were ejected and unlucky, and the other withdrew by himself. Joining a fraternity is also a small matter, but if you really join a racial fraternity in college, then if you go into politics in the future, after the scandal is dug up, Congress and the media will not let this person have an easy time, and the voters are the same. Those who can go to Stanford are all smart people, so not many people would be willing to join a fraternity. That is too extreme. Now that we have strayed from the topic, let's get back to Stanford. Chapter 486. Prelude to Going Crazy for You. The girls were thinking about what to do, and some were thinking about whether they should go there as a private party later. Being in a daze here on Friday night was definitely a blasphemy and a waste of life. Let's go to the Holy Land and see what these men are doing in the building today. Kayla's girlfriend was the first to suggest. Today, her boyfriend said that there was an event in the fraternity, so they couldn't go out to play and go shopping together. He didn't tell her what they were doing in the building. She wanted to go and see now. Maybe these people invited a striptease woman to perform in the dormitory, and then these people sat inside and enjoyed it. But striptease requires music to match. That's the beginning of a good atmosphere. When she called, she really didn't hear any sound. Several other girls responded, yes, we have to go over and see what these guys are doing. They are so mysterious. They must be doing something. Today is not the day for them to have a ceremony. As the eldest sister and president of the sorority, Tracy saw that everyone had an idea, so she stood up and said, in that case, if everyone has no objection, let's go over and see. I also want to know what Wells is doing. She knew that her boyfriend would never do that kind of thing, but his friend Perez was not necessarily the same. This muscular man, the main center of the football team, was not the star of the girls in the school, but he was also particularly attractive to some women, and he was a typical playboy. His brain was not very good in other aspects, but he was really good at picking up girls. I don't know if his wisdom, in addition to growing football, has also developed the module of picking up girls. By the way, he also developed his good brother with him. In addition, a male god level figure has recently come. He has tried several women in the sorority and won the first place for the H girl. Now this woman is still talking about it with relish. Even the woman following her was also, because of Zhou. Recently, she has been quite active in the sorority, relying on his affairs. She is now afraid that her boyfriend will influence his friends. It seems that the guy is the kind of person who would hire cool girls. Maybe it is true now. In the dormitory building, a group of cool girls were hired, and they were playing with their fraternity friends. She believes that Zhou can definitely afford the money. But this girl didn't think about it. Would Zhou be so generous to hire someone for prostitution? Even Justin Bieber, Zhou has stood this guy up, not to mention these new friends who have not known each other for long. Although Justin has only met a few times, the two have interacted a lot on the internet. Recently, when reporting the good news about Zhou, he was studying hard and studying hard. It also helped Justin earn a lot of positive points. Many of his fans think that Zhou is a good friend. After having such a fortune, he still works hard to improve himself. For Justin, who became famous at a young age, it will definitely play an inspiring role. God knows, this popular idol is now thinking about when Zhou can take him to the good place he mentioned. He has sent several messages to Zhou, but Zhou always apologizes and says that he will take him to a great party after Christmas. This kid has calmed down a lot. If the news of Justin Bieber going to prostitutes is exposed in the future, Zhou must have contributed to it. Although he didn't know who it was in his previous life, Zhou can't escape in this life. But maybe with Zhou in this life, this naughty kid will learn that the first thing to learn in the underworld is to be a fan of variety shows and movies. If you want to find someone, you have to find a high-end one. At least the woman must be confidential. Otherwise, after having sex with a celebrity like you, he will take it out and proudly promote it, and touch the book of thanks for being with him, and the details of having sex with him, which may attract a group of women who are special, and want to know Justin. Or maybe they want to learn from Justin, compete with Justin, etc. And maybe they can sell the best-selling quantity of men's purchases. The higher class women have a good confidentiality code, and will not report to others casually. For example, the one selected by Zhou was introduced by Huang Duling, and they have a very good reputation. So far, there has been no media reports that they were the ones who leaked the news. Many of their clients are more famous than Justin, and they have never seen any accidents. In the previous life, this naughty kid was probably horny, or he was young, and couldn't get away, so he found only mediocre stuff, and finally suffered bitter consequences, and social accusations came to him one after another. The Holy Land Dormitory Building, a 40% building, and 45% attic Holy Land Headquarters Building, has a history of more than 30 years. It was donated to the fraternity headquarters by the founder after he became rich. Although it was built in Stanford, it belongs to the public property of the fraternity and has nothing to do with the school. The wide, rich Byzantine-style building is also integrated with the modern style of 30 years ago. It was designed and built by a famous designer at that time. Even now, it still looks beautiful. At this time, the fraternity members were busy in the kitchen. The buns in Zhou hand were quickly formed. The speed of the other people's buns combined was not as fast as his, but they could not stop because there were many people in the fraternity and he couldn't make them all by himself. Last time, Zhou made them by himself, but it was not enough for everyone to eat. Didn't I say that there was a commotion at that time? And the idiot Perez, relying on his good physical fitness, grabbed a lot of them. As a result, because they were delicious, he ate too much and was sent to the hospital. Zhou was wrapping buns in his hands, but he didn't stop talking. Bobby, the first pot should be ready. Take the people to take those out and keep them warm, and then put them in the second pot. But as soon as he finished speaking, Wells said, "You are not allowed to eat secretly, Perez, sit down. If you dare to eat secretly, I swear, I will let everyone vote and make you responsible for cleaning the bathroom for a week." He stretched his neck to get closer and breathe in the aroma of the buns. He almost ran over to pick up a bun to try the taste. Wells' words directly stopped him from doing the next action. With a bitter face, he said, "Wells, I just smelled it. We haven't eaten it yet. Why can't you trust me? For this, I can't." Wells said seriously, "If you don't believe me, smell them." Seeing everyone's distrust for lies, Perez could only give up. "You know me so well. It's so depressing." Haha. Everyone laughed at him today. Recently, this kid couldn't help but embarrass himself when mentioning the food made by Jay Chow. Chapter 488 Accident and Phone Call. Okay, guys, we'll be eating soon. Zhou saw that there were still a lot of raw materials left, but now so many people were waiting, so he might as well eat them first. Especially he was drooling a little when he smelled them. It seemed that he had performed beyond his level today, and the buns he made before seemed to be much more delicious. In fact, the buns this time were really not much different from the previous ones, and some might even be worse than before. However, with so many people eating together in this atmosphere, he felt that the buns seemed to taste better. Just as Zhou signaled Wells to tell everyone that they could prepare to eat, more than a dozen people suddenly broke in from outside the door. Because of the Byzantine style, the interior was built relatively spacious, and the kitchen was located directly in the direction of the door. They could see who came in this time. While everyone was stunned, Perez, the idiot, suddenly reacted quickly and stood up, jumped in front of the center island, where the buns were placed, leaned against the center island with his hands open to protect the buns over there. "What do you want to do? I will never let you touch my buns." Sure enough, he is the legendary combination of a foodie and a fool. I didn't expect that this hybrid breed would have such a good market in the United States. It seems that this exotic hybrid breed is quite healthy. Zhou secretly complained in his heart. "Trussie, how did you get in?" Wells saw his girlfriend behind a woman with an average appearance. At that time, several people outside the door were about to knock on the door, and the crazy girl opened the door directly and rushed in excitedly. Under the inertia of the heart just now, the people behind him also rushed in unconsciously. Under the inherent herd mentality of the social group, the people behind also followed the people in front. So after the crazy girl saw Zhou stand up, the people behind him also stood up, but only now did they react. How could he come in like this? Trussie was even more confused. Her boyfriend and other people in the fraternity gathered in the kitchen, and there were no women around. There was only that white food, which seemed to be called buns. When she came in, she saw a bunch of people gathered around it, especially Perez. Trussie even saw him wiping his saliva with his hands. "But it smells really good." Trussie and the others couldn't help but think of this. She asked her boyfriend and started to speak in a hey way, but just when she was about to explain, she saw Wells holding a smaller version of the bun in his hand, which should be the prototype of an uncooked bun. Looking at the other hand holding a spoon for seasoning, he was actually cooking, and it was the kind of food that looked and smelled delicious. Oh my god, what was I thinking just now? Tracy thought a little guilty. Tracy, I think you guys are going to give us an explanation? Seeing that his girlfriend didn't respond, Wells couldn't help but call a few more times. We. Tracy didn't know what to say. After stuttering for a while and seeing that everyone was a little impatient, she returned to her normal state. As the representative of the group that broke in, she told the beginning and process of the incident. Of course, she would never tell them about her recruiting, those things that said bad things about JC Zhou, and the things that she suspected her boyfriend. As for whether there was a traitor, that was impossible. But it seemed that JC Zhao's nympho, if he was taken to bed, would probably tell everything to JC Zhou. While explaining, she was still thinking about the solution to the problem in her mind. She was worthy of being the president of the sorority. A woman in this position not only has breasts to attract people, but also has to have a good mind. Tracy obviously has all of these. But now she can only sigh. Women are really unreliable animals. Wells, as the president of the fraternity, his girlfriend brought people into the fraternity dormitory. He now felt that this was a big deal. He hurriedly walked forward a few steps and suddenly remembered that he had not put down the buns in his hand, so he turned around and put the buns on the table. He patted the flour on his hands and walked towards his girlfriend Tracy. We need to talk about this. But, didn't I just say that? Tracy didn't want to talk about this topic anymore. We need to talk about this. Wells looked at her firmly and said. The people around also realized that something was wrong, but they didn't want to get involved. The other people who had girlfriends were looking at their girlfriends, asking with their eyes what was going on. Seeing that they couldn't answer, they put down their work and went to have a good talk with them. Kaylee, why didn't you reply to the text message I sent you just now? Kaylee's girlfriend, a girl with big chestnut hair, asked her boyfriend first. I was making dumplings just now. That's the one Wells was holding just now. When we came back today, we had decided to put away our phones. No one was allowed to send text messages or look at their phones during the party, so we put them away directly. Kaylee explained to his girlfriend. Although they were all thinking about the buns, the hormones of the little brother took the upper hand over his stomach. He wanted to deal with these women before eating buns. Zhou Jixi looked at the eyes of a girl staring at him, and his whole body was numb. He seemed to have seen this girl a few times before, but she was not the same person then. What happened today? The crazy girl Penny was very excited, and finally looked at Jessie, to eye for a while. Seeing that he was nodding to her, Penny's joy was really beyond words. Just when he wanted to go forward, Zhou Jixi saw a box full of mobile phones over there, and his mobile phone seemed to ring. He quickly moved over to answer the phone, but seeing that there were still many people in the middle, he was too lazy to move. Tom, I can't get through. Can you help me get the phone over? It seems to be my family's phone. If you have something to ask the younger brother, he has no worries about commanding the little devils. Okay, got it. Tom said as he walked over and took out Zhou Jixi's phone and made a motion to throw it in his direction. Zhou Jixi directly motioned him to hurry up. Tom, who originally just wanted to go back, saw that he agreed, so he shook it a few times in his hand and threw it directly over. Although Tom threw it at an average angle and did not use enough force, he actually threw it to a position where Zhou Jixi could not catch it with his hands. Even if the brothers over there wanted to help catch it, it was a little too late. Seeing this situation, Tom was very troubled in his heart. It's terrible. The boss's phone was smashed. Fortunately, Zhou Jixi was not a pushover. He knew where the phone would fall by looking at this direction. He immediately thought in his mind that he could not catch it with his hands, but if he caught it with his feet, there would be no problem. So the moment he stretched out his hand, he changed the angle and the point of force, leaned forward, changed the angle to the left, raised his right foot, and stretched it out, accurately reaching the position where the phone was about to fall, and the instep quickly caught the phone. Then he used his strength to hook the phone on the instep and flew it up again, in the direction where his hand could catch it comfortably. It looks like a lot of actions, but in fact it only took a few seconds. Everyone was still worried about Zhou Jixi's phone, but they didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, he used his feet to save his phone. Jess, is this Chinese kung fu? The kung fu enthusiasts of the fraternity suddenly stood up and said to Zhao Jixi with admiration, "So handsome, Jess. Did you see the women coming? So you want to show us a good show using kung fu that we have been together for so long and have never seen before," Perez said with a depressed look. Haha. Zhao Jixi smiled but didn't answer. "I'll answer the phone first." Then he walked to a place next to where there were no people. "Also, don't cheat." Perez's newly grown hand stopped immediately. "Do you think there are eyes behind you? You can see this." Zhao Jixi didn't look at him, but quickly said, "I don't have eyes behind me, but there is a mirror in front of me. Your wretched little hand is about to touch the white and tender buns." Perez said. Haha. It's true that idiots are so happy. Zhao Jixi ignored them, looked at the phone number displayed on the phone, and picked up the phone. "Hey, third sister, why did you think of calling me? Did you miss me? Go to hell, I miss you. You are so old, talk seriously, otherwise you may not be able to have a girlfriend in the future," the third sister said coquettishly. I have never worried about this. Girlfriends are a matter of minutes. I will bring you as many as you want. Zhao Jixi said this with a little pride. "Don't tell me about those messy women. It only takes a few minutes. Can you marry that kind of woman? You are so old, can't you think for yourself?" The third sister said this with a bit of disappointment. Zhao Jixi could only smile bitterly. Talking to a woman about a woman will only make things more messy. "Oh, my sister, I haven't even thought about getting married, let alone a wife. I guess it will be difficult in this life." "Difficult? Didn't you say that it only takes a few minutes for girls? Why is it difficult for our Zhao girl?" the third sister said sarcastically. "This kid has to be careful, otherwise his tail will be raised. How can it be the same? A girlfriend has no legal responsibilities, but a wife is different. I have so much money, but once I get married, it's like I have half of it. I'm not that stupid. If I do such a stupid thing, I guess I won't be able to sleep at night." Update Fast Pure Text Chapter 489 Discussion. If it were in the past, she would have said it a long time ago, but now, it is really hard to say. Even if her brother wants to work hard to squander his family's money, it will take him a long time to spend all his money. If he wants to work hard on something, he has so much money, why should he work hard? He is just asking for trouble. What's more, this kid is still working hard. He recently joined the board of directors of Apple. His own game company came up with a few ideas and hired a group of people to produce it. Now it has a market value of nearly $300 million US. This person is really useless compared to others. She is still proud of making a few million, but her brother has earned a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The third sister sighed softly. In order to ensure the safety of their property, those rich people like to have a prenuptial agreement. After signing and marrying a girl, their respective properties are their own private property, and even if they divorce, they are their own. In this way, the safety of property is guaranteed. But is this marriage still a marriage? If they don't even have this most basic trust, how can they manage their marriage for a long time? Zhao Jixi was confused. "You don't even have the face to ask what I did. Then what did I do? I haven't greeted any decent women recently. I haven't messed with my third sister's friends before." He promised Zhou that he had never slept with those girls. "Yes, promise." Zhao Jixi, who was thinking wildly in his mind, didn't know that his third sister was sitting in his office at this time, and his fourth sister was sitting opposite her. When she heard Zhao Jixi's weak voice, she immediately showed a smug expression and covered the microphone of her mobile phone and said to her fourth sister. The fourth sister wanted to refute, but was stopped by the third sister. Zhao Jixi nagging at his third sister for a while. His head was a little swollen, but he was relieved in his heart. It's good that it's not a woman's business. The last time he went back, he had a daughter. This woman is really a disaster. Update Fast Pure Text Chapter 490, Third Sister's Purpose. TXT download. However, when he looked at the answers, he had a very high accuracy rate. If he had not worked hard, how could he have achieved this level? So Zhao Jixi was arrogant. At least compared to his previous life, he worked hard. He worked hard for Stanford, and he actually got in. The third sister was silent for a while, and Zhao Jixi thought he had said something wrong. But when he came to his senses, he heard a faint voice on the phone. When Zhou Jixi was on the phone, he had already taken out the last basket of buns and placed them on Nakajima Shang's brothers. Now they were looking at the buns with envy and swallowing their saliva. At this time, the room was full of fragrance. Those who had just come in were a little embarrassed at first. After the first embarrassment, they also relaxed. Many of them knew each other, and the two clubs often held activities. Everyone had also drunk and partied together. Now this group of people wanted to make buns again, and he could not give them a face. He said it directly and coldly. His father is a big real estate developer in Montana, and his wealth is also very substantial. Perez's hobby is football, and his father also supports his hobby. There is no need to manage any family business as in the novels, especially since his son has obtained the qualification for admission to Stanford through his own efforts. Old Perez is very proud of his son. Moreover, even if old Perez doesn't care, he still has professional managers to help him, so he can continue his hobby with peace of mind. Perez's father has only one request for him, hoping that after he becomes famous, he can return to his hometown team to play for a period of time, because he is also a firm football fan. Perez looked at her with amusement. The people of the Shriners behind shouted in unison. The girl took a step back in fear. Perez did not stop, but turned around and asked loudly. The aggressive posture of the boys frightened the girl a little. Perez shrugged his shoulders, pointed his finger at the ground and said. Perez was about to refute at this time, and Wells and Carrie, who had gone out, heard the voice and walked in. Zhou Jixi was still chatting with the third sister when they started to roar in unison, so loud that even the third sister could hear it. The fourth sister also found it funny. Update fast pure text chapter 491. Conquer again. The fourth sister looked at the third sister with amusement. Okay, she is a pretty good person. You shouldn't be so mean to her. The third sister said disdainfully. Come on. Who am I? Do I need to be someone's substitute? And be someone's stepmother? The people chasing me can line up to the Huangpu River. Why should I care? Okay, not really. Okay. The fourth sister was too lazy to talk to her about this topic anymore. I just said that the person is not bad, even if you don't want to be with her. Hey, forget it. Besides, you said I was meddling in other people's business again. Stanford Holy Land Dormitory. When Zhou came back, he found that the atmosphere was a bit strange. Perez was actually a little embarrassed. This bastard could actually feel embarrassed sometimes. Hey, guys. Are you all waiting for me? Jess. Fuck. You're finally back. Let's eat quickly. I'm starving. Perez walked towards Zhou as if he had found a safe haven. Wells, Kerry and the others were left looking at him in a whisper, and the girl blushed a little, but there were still some tears in her eyes, and she looked at Perez with hatred. Zhou Jixi felt that something might happen here. As for why he knew, please, it seems that this is how it is played in the movie. Now even children know some of the plots of the 8 o'clock drama. The bloody plots are too old-fashioned. Unless you insist on an imperfect ending, there is really nothing to say. Zhou Jixi patted Perez, but looked at Wells, meaning what should these people do? Wells was also a little helpless. He just talked to his girlfriend. Although he was the chairman of the fraternity, he couldn't say much about this matter, and he couldn't ignore the brothers' opinions. Although everyone didn't say that it must be a fraternity party, everyone unanimously didn't bring their girlfriends. His girlfriend came now, and brought a lot of people. It was really not appropriate to speak. Shit, if I had known that Perez was talking just now, I wouldn't have spoken to ease the atmosphere. Wells was also a little dilemma. Wait a minute, let's have a brief meeting. After a moment of silence, Wells spoke to the fraternity. Okay. After thinking about it, everyone agreed. The group of people who came stood in the living room and looked at each other. Everyone held a brief voting meeting. That is, different people came to eat, and Zhou Jixi, as the protagonist, did not have much objection to this. Anyway, he had already made a bun, so it didn't matter if he made a little more. After these people had eaten his buns, they might become loyal customers of Baozi King in the future. In the end, everyone agreed that this group of people would stay and eat together, and the fraternity still had the right to invite more people to come. but everyone might have to make buns next. After all, the ones below might not be enough for everyone to eat. After Wells announced this resolution below, everyone cheered, which made Zhou a little weird. It's just eating a bun. Why is it so complicated? It's not a party. How could he know that these people have been smelling the fragrance of the buns since they came in? After smelling it for so long, they have swallowed a lot of saliva. Looking at the buns behind Perez, they really want to taste it. However, Zhou was still very happy that his food was liked by everyone. Although he was just an amateur chef, he also had the characteristics of a chef. That is, the food he made was really liked by people, which was the best affirmation for a chef. So everyone started to get busy. Although Perez was a little unhappy, everyone voted in agreement, so he could only use his anger to chop meat. The most interesting thing was that the girl just stood next to him, looking at him with smiling eyes. And he actually looked at him. Zhou was wondering, when did the wolf stop eating meat? The meat was not enough, but fortunately there were still a lot of vegetables and other meat. Zhou secretly used the space to exchange the ingredients in the space so that the food made by this way could be better. After all, he was the chef of this activity. Wells was holding the buns, but he walked to Zhou's side. Excuse me, Zhou, what happened today? It's okay. It's just an extra pair of chopsticks. It's all a small matter. Seeing that Wells didn't understand, he said, "Oh, what I mean is, it's already been done. It doesn't matter if we make some more. We are all friends. I have to at least give you face." "Thank you," Wells said sincerely. In addition to Zhou making buns, there is another point, that the good ingredients here are all provided by Zhou. He can't get money from it, so he is a little embarrassed. Many of these foods are airlifted in, and a batch is delivered every few days. Usually, only a few people take advantage of it and eat a little together. They all feel that it is worthy of the safe and contaminated ingredients that Zhou himself promotes. It tastes much better than what they buy. Okay, we are all brothers. After another period of busy work, everyone has made several baskets of buns. Looking at the mountains of buns and the fragrance that fills the house, everyone feels full of a sense of accomplishment. These are the results of their joint efforts. During this period, many girls came. Most of them were girlfriends of the brothers in the fraternity. Those who were not girlfriends also intended to develop in that direction. Those who were not invited by girls, of course, invited boys, all of whom were good friends. The most amazing thing was that someone invited a professor. This professor was a well-known gourmet in the school. He was very fond of all kinds of food. He would spend a lot of vacation time every year to go on vacation to find food. In addition, he was also young at heart, so he had a good time with several people in the fraternity. This person had delicious food, but he didn't forget to invite him over. It was the long table again, but unfortunately the people who came couldn't sit down. Everyone put the table next to it. As for the buns, they could eat them well while standing. In addition to the buns, Bobby also made a lot of food, including a lot of premium steaks cut into small pieces. There were really a lot of people. Of course it was impossible for everyone to come. Besides, Zhou was reluctant to waste it on these people. He didn't know many of them, and it wasn't his party, so he didn't do his best. "Everyone, let's start enjoying the food tonight. I hope it will leave you with a good memory." Wells took the bun and took a bite. Everyone didn't care about laughing and took the bun and put it in their mouths and took a big bite. The mellow and soft dough, the fragrant and delicious juice, the taste buds are happy and the stomach is thirsty. What a great taste. Most people looked at the bun in their hands with a strange look on their faces. A few people didn't even look at it and continued to eat it directly. Instead of being surprised, they might as well eat a few more bites. Just now I had an urge to eat it when I smelled it. Sure enough, after eating it, the taste lived up to my thoughts. Oh my god, I actually felt happy. It was so delicious. Yes, it really lived up to the feeling just now. This food called steamed buns is really the best Chinese food I have ever eaten. I think I really fell in love with it. What should I do if I can't eat such delicious steamed buns in the future? God, why did you give me this sudden happiness? He was so emotional that he almost cried 2 more tears. Zhao Jixi heard people's exclamations and praises one after another, and the corners of his mouth couldn't help but curl up, and a satisfied and proud smile appeared on his face. What hamburgers and cola, brother, I want these Americans to eat steamed buns and drink soy milk in the future, and make this a habit in the first choice. I want to take a big piece of the cake in the American food industry. As a gourmet, the old professor must have eaten this famous Chinese steamed bun. Every year when he went on vacation, he would want to go to China. The food there left a huge impression on him. He had not yet tasted all the food in China. China was really too big. The food in different places was different. There were also dishes from different cuisines. There were even several kinds of dumplings and buns. The ones Zhao Jixi had here looked very ordinary. They were a little different from the exquisitely made buns he had eaten. But he smelled the smell, and after taking a bite, he found that his taste buds were conquered by it. This bun was definitely one of the most delicious foods he had ever eaten. Compared with some pure natural delicacies, this processed food actually gave him the same feeling as eating natural food. Caviar, which was not cooked, but only processed simply, was edible. Compared with buns, he actually felt that buns were just a little bit worse. In terms of the enjoyment of taste buds, it could bring great pleasure to him. This trip was really the right one. The old professor thought happily, while eating the buns. In the distance, Zhao Jixi and Wells walked together. It seems that these people are conquered by your cooking skills. Jess, you are really amazing. Haha. This is inevitable. I used so many high quality ingredients, plus the dough needed by my skills and techniques, and the stuffing made by the secret recipe. They will like it. It's all within my expectations. Zhao Jixi said as a matter of course. And Wells actually nodded in agreement. Yeah, otherwise, with my skills, I can make such ugly buns, but there will be people rushing to eat them. It's really a pleasure to watch. The two shameless men praised each other, and they really felt that they sympathized with each other. After they looked at each other, they all had goosebumps all over their bodies. They really love homosexuality. Update fast pure text. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 492. A rabbit wants to eat my grass. Zhao Jixi and Wells were chatting, and the topic came up with the old professor. Wells's casual remark suddenly gave him a surprise. Zhao Jixi asked hurriedly. Wells looked at Zhao Jixi for a while, smiled and whispered in his ear. Zhao Jixi saw this, and did not deny it, and nodded. Wells looked like he knew it. Although this expression was a bit mean, Zhao Jixi really understood. Just when Wells was about to pick up the glass, Perez also came over with a bun in his hand. Wells rolled his eyes at him. Zhao Jixi shrugged his shoulders, and Wells also looked helpless. Wells glanced at Zhao Jixi. The two of them had not talked for more than 10 seconds, and Perez had already returned. After some calculations, the three of them finally picked up the tortuous champagne glass. Zhao Jixi became popular again in school. It had only been 2 days, and his name, along with the bunking and his cooking, became famous in Stanford. These days, there are really many people who come to see him, like a rare species in a zoo, which made him very unhappy. The students and teachers who discussed him in the school were very curious about such a student. Zhou brought many different things to them. One was the impression of rich people, and the other was the definition of life values. It turned out that a young rich man was like this. It turned out that, after having so much money, there were still many things to do in life and to work hard for it. Wealth is not everything, it is just one of your achievements. Zhou rarely interpreted this sentence. Fortunately, he will stay in school for a few more days before welcoming the first winter vacation in the United States. Although the greater San Francisco area in California is really not cold, who cares? A month's vacation is what everyone looks forward to most after school, and Zhou is no exception. After returning to the dormitory, he picked up a fashionable bag, which was the latest model of Louis Vuitton this year. It was a gift for women from Nikki Hilton. He put it away because it was not polite, and his return gift would be high anyway. The people behind him gave him a middle finger to see him off. Zhou Jixi didn't even turn his head and gave him a middle finger. Although Bobby didn't want to know, a man suddenly came down from upstairs. After hearing what he said, he automatically took over. This man really liked this kind of stubborn thing. As for the little devil, he had already returned to Japan. He said that his grandfather had passed away and he had to go back. Fortunately, he was lucky enough to catch up with the school holiday. Everyone praised Jenny, who looked confused, but he was still confused when they saw one side was happy and the other side was unhappy. Even a pig would know what was going on. Wells was left with a face full of complaints. Zhou Jixi didn't care about what happened next. He didn't ride his bicycle anymore. He got on the environmentally friendly scooter in the college and quickly arrived at the entrance of the college. Now many acquaintances have greeted him along the way. He didn't spend the past 2 months at Stanford in vain. From a distance, he saw a Porsche supercar with a pale face parked not far away. A petite girl with European and American breasts was standing next to the car. The delicate skinnervation seemed to be stained with a layer of glow in the sun. However, a man was dressed a little coquettishly at this time. When he saw the girl, he seemed to have seen his prey. He tidied himself up a little and walked up to her. The girl greeted him politely, bent down slightly, and bowed slightly. The coquettish man's eyes were like a locator, quickly scanning the pair of white and tender breasts that were exposed because of the angle. Zhou Jixi's anger came out at once when he saw this. In just a moment, the girl felt a little annoyed with the man next to her. The man's gaze was really disgusting. The girl had a good temper, so she just ignored him, and the man would automatically feel embarrassed and leave. But she obviously underestimated the cheapness of this slutty man. Update fast pure text chapter 493. Need to be cleaned up. Girl, are you Japanese or Korean? The man didn't back down and continued to talk to Luo next to him. Mizi was too lazy to pay attention to him. Let me introduce myself. I'm from China. Do you know my dad? My dad is a village chief. He has the final say in our village. Even if someone from the county comes, my dad will still ignore them. Sir, please respect yourself and don't get too close to me. Mizi took a step back and dodged the saliva foam he sprayed. Don't be like this. I have money. Really, I have money. I'm the village chief. After saying this, Seonan saw that Mizi was getting more and more impatient and suddenly seemed to understand something. Oh, I understand. The situation in your country is different from that in China. Are the village chiefs in your country very poor? Well, I guess so. I tell you, it's different. Really, we are in China. My father can sell some land in the village and people can give him hundreds of thousands of bribes. You don't have money there? Zhou Jixi relied on his keen 5 senses and listened over there deliberately and was immediately shocked. When did the village chiefs in China become so awesome? He was too lazy to do anything big-faced. The son of a rich family should not sit in the hall. Although Zhou Jixi was a little angry, he was too lazy to argue with him personally. He signaled with his eyes that the bodyguards in the Ford Raptor 650 were parked behind the sports car. 2 black and white evil figures came out, looked at the Seo man who was still chatting, and smiled with white teeth, looking like they were looking for trouble. I tell you, if you just give me a chance, I can give you a surprise. Believe me, this Seo man can't see that he even used the slogan of the Olympic bid to pick up girls. He is really keeping up with the times. It's a pity that this slogan failed in the Olympic bid, so picking up girls is not much better. Zhou Jixi walked over, thinking humorously in his mind. Mizi saw Zhou Jixi coming over and hurriedly bowed to him and said hello, boss. After that, Zhou Jixi nodded at her and even the Seo man just gave him a contemptuous look. Look at you, brother, you are so weak. Still looking at breasts? Even if you can see it, you can't touch it. Yeah, Zhou Jixi nodded to her and Mizi immediately turned around and opened the car door and he walked in. Mizi then quickly made a circle and got on the other side of the car. Hey, what am I talking about? You are so rude. Do you know what etiquette is? Get down, get down. Seonan was teased by Zhou Jixi's contempt and disregard, and he was furious. Zhou Jixi ignored him. Get down, I will kill you. Get down. Damn it, do you know who my father is? Seonan was furious and wanted to kick Zhao Jixi's car. Puchy. Zhao Jixi finally couldn't help it and laughed at the clown. Who is your father? I don't know. And as for where you came from, I don't want to know. You. Seonan wanted to say something, but the bodyguards behind him immediately sandwiched him between the two of them, and each of them controlled one of his hands. What do you want to do? Let me go. Who are you? The man looked at the two tall men in horror. Can I bury you? You know, this is America. If something happens to you, your dad probably won't be able to make it. And you will be unlucky enough to suffocate to death in the coffin? Zhao Jixi thought this was a good idea, and he became more and more excited as he talked. What do you think of my idea? Seonan was panicking when he told Zhao Jixi. He had never encountered such a thing in the past few times he went abroad. Every time, as long as one of his friends introduced those Asian girls, he would communicate more with them, and he would spend some money, and then he could get the girls. Today, he wanted to feel like an American college student, but he didn't expect to be fascinated by Mizi, and the result was so sad. Sir, don't joke, I'm a little scared. Seonan's voice was about to cry. He had never encountered such a situation in the United States. Could this be the legendary kicking the iron plate? Zhao Jixi looked at him calmly and said seriously, I don't joke around, and I always do what I say. Do you think I'm a good person? Seonan cried. He really didn't know what to say. Brother, I really didn't mean to take your girl. I just saw it. What did you see? Peeking at my secretary's breasts and sexually harassing my secretary. Zhao Jixi's words not only scared Seonan more, but also Mizi's face turned red after hearing it, and the redness spread downwards little by little. Fuck, you are really daring. Zhao Jixi's tone was a bit heavy. However, seeing Seonan's expression, he also felt a little boring. He originally wanted to learn from you in the novel and find someone to slap in the face, but he didn't expect that this person was so easily scared. Seeing him like this, Zhao Jixi completely let go of his unhappiness. Did you see what my bodyguard has on his waist? Zhao Jixi's sudden words made Seonan look in that direction involuntarily. In an instant, the plot of the movie and TV series flashed quickly in his mind. The word gun appeared in his mind. His 2 feet were almost unable to move. If he was not still sitting on the sandwich, he would probably collapse to the ground. Did you see it? Zhao Jixi asked. I want to find my dad. Don't kill me. My family is rich. I can give you money. Seonan was about to shout, but the bodyguard held his mouth. Stop. Don't make a loud noise. Otherwise, these things don't have eyes. Zhao Jixi said with a smile, but this expression looked so scary to Seonan. He couldn't help but nodded, indicating that he agreed to Zhao Jixi's request. Since you have done something wrong, do you think you should be punished? Seonan was stunned for a moment and shook his head at first, but when he saw Zhao Jixi's increasingly cold face, he quickly began to nod again. Okay, very good. Since you feel so, I will punish you appropriately. I don't think you have any objections? Zhao Jixi said, but you don't look like you have any objections, so it's easy. My request is also very simple. You just have to stand here for a morning and say that I was wrong. This is considered a punishment for you. When Seonan heard Zhao Jixi's words, his face became more and more surprised. He nodded quickly. Okay, I will do it. Okay, that's it. Zhao Jixi clapped his hands, but don't think about not obeying Royan. There will be a person in the distance holding the thing on his waist and staring at you, so you'd better take care of yourself. After that, Zhao Jixi signaled the bodyguards to let Seonan go. Okay, let's go. Ask someone to go over there and stare at him. This is what Zhao Jixi said specifically to this person, whose name he didn't even know. Seonan only saw the bodyguards nodded, and then they got into a car, and Zhao Jixi drove away in a Porsche. Although they left, Seonan didn't dare to leave. Although he didn't know whether what Zhao Jixi said was true, he thought it would be better to wait for a while to talk about this matter. Fortunately, this is a public place. He guessed that Zhao Jixi might be worried about this, so he didn't dare to do anything to him. He couldn't help sighing in his heart. What luck, your sister must find 2 Japanese bitches to fuck next time I go back. These Japanese women are really a disaster. Zhao Jixi had been gone for more than an hour, and Seonan felt that his crisis was almost over. Just when he wanted to leave, he looked back at the place where Zhao Jixi pointed with a guilty look. Suddenly a beam of light pierced his eyes, and he subconsciously covered them. Then he couldn't help but panic. His people are still there. He is really not joking. What is that? The rear view mirror of a sniper rifle? It's over. It's over. Who have I offended? Are American gangs so awesome now? It's really a capitalist country. To asterisk asterisk. I want to go home. I miss my dad. The more Seonan thought about it, the sadder he became. Tears like pearls kept dripping down. Zhao Jixi was driving on the road, with a smile on his face from time to time. Mizi, do you think this guy will stand there and not dare to leave? Miko felt a little strange at the moment, and pursed her lips. I'm sorry, boss, I don't know. I think he might not be scared by the reflection of a piece of glass and dare not leave. She didn't dare to say that Zhao Jixi had gone too far. He just harassed her, but he dealt with a man like that. Miko knew that it was a bit ungrateful to think so, but, thinking about it, she couldn't help but sighed. Forget it, these things are not something I can control. Just do what the boss says. I'm just a little secretary, I'm not his person. Zhao Jixi looked at the Japanese woman with a little surprise. That's not necessarily true. I'll go and see with my friends in the evening, and if he's still there, I'll ask them to send a photo over. I think it must be very interesting. What do you think? Miko looked at Zhao Jixi with a complicated look. Boss, why don't you say anything? Zhao Jixi asked. Miko shook her head quickly. I just think. Miko looked at Zhao Jixi deliberately while she was talking. Seeing her cautious look, Zhao Jixi smiled dumbly and said, tell me, do you think I went a little too far? Chapter 494, Sorting Out. Miko was silent for a moment, then nodded a little guilty. After all, Zhao Jixi was helping her, and it was a bit too unkind for her to say that. I don't think so. Think about those people who were cheated of their money and lost their interests. I don't think it's too much for me to do this. A child from a small village can be so awesome, so it's conceivable that his father is not a good person either. Seeing that Miko was a little confused, forget it, you won't understand, even if I tell you this. He stopped talking after saying that. The vastness of the American highway did not affect the atmosphere in the car. After driving for a while, Zhao Jixi set off on the road to go home and erase the things that happened just now. It's just a secretary. Why should I explain to her? It's a waste of time. Zhao Jixi's heart is actually like his horse chasing the wind. At the moment of rebirth, he was a proud person. It's just that people are people, because they will disguise themselves and bury those bad things that they don't want others to see deeply in their hearts. Zhao Jixi did a good job in this regard. 3 cars were driving on Interstate 49 in California. He no longer had to worry about Baozi Wang. The team of external inspectors formed by Lena could supervise those individuals well and ensure that Zhao Jixi's company would not become fizz while operating. They also effectively controlled the supply of Baozi Wang. Some of these were made unconsciously by Zhao Jixi, and some were changed after Alina reminded him. After all, she was more professional in running the company. Zhao Jixi would consider the opinions of Alina and the think tank on the general direction. However, it was still his job to make decisions, and they were just assistants. I don't know how the football team is going. Last time, Elena said that negotiations had been initiated, and now they are negotiating with San Francisco and the government, where the team is located. It is because Zhao Jixi wants to move the team to the San Francisco area that he feels that his support will be at a higher level here. Not only will he not have to worry about the sales of the team's luxury boxes in the future, but he will also be able to gain a lot of support from Asians. You know, most Asians like football. The place with the largest number of Asians in the United States is California, and Zhao Jixi knows that he belongs to the colored race. In this white Western world, people of color will be discriminated against. This is inevitable. He would not be surprised by this. Even when he was in China, the city where he lived would exclude outsiders because of accents and other reasons, not to mention the issue of race. But outsiders who gather together are definitely not someone who anyone wants to discriminate against or dares to discriminate against. in the city where Zhou is, and when he went out in his previous life, he liked to get together with his fellow villagers. This is not only to get a lot of help, but also to gather together, because they don't want to be bullied. Taizou knows that there is strength in numbers, not to mention Zhou who grew up under Taizou's doctrine. If he wants to be influential, he must first gain support, recognition, and reputation in his own ethnic group. This will not only make his wealth more stable and dispel some people's ideas that they shouldn't have, it can also allow him to gain a lot of invisible wealth. So he has many Japanese and Indian secretaries and friends of various ethnic groups, including Vietnamese, Laotian, Filipino, Indian, Korean, Japanese, etc. This is also in the multi-ethnic fraternity of the Holy Land. Zhou just picked up such a bargain. The ethnic minorities who can be in it are mostly elites. Stanford is not something that ordinary people can go to. Those seniors who graduated before, the worst of them are also a middle class. You can imagine Zhou's inner joy. Elena had raised objections when J.C. Chou wanted to buy the San Francisco Warriors and the football team and move them to the San Francisco area. But J.C. Chou only said one thing: I have money, but I don't have enough influence. In the rich circle, Chinese Americans know me, Jess Chou, but what about ordinary people? What about other Asians? Zhou paused and looked at Elena. The woman was still thinking about what he said. It was not until now that she understood why Zhou always had his eyes on those sports teams in California. It turned out that this was the crux of the matter. Influence sounds empty, but it is indeed a good thing. Every team in a sports league will be supported by local residents. As long as Zhou buys the team and does not make them worse than before. If he makes them a little better, then he will instantly gain a large number of young lei, especially with his Asian identity in the San Francisco area of California, which has many Asians. The more Elena thought about it, the more she felt that her future as a small boss was not as simple as he usually acted. It is easy to become a celebrity, but it is not easy to become an influential person. But the young man has already started his journey, and Elena is full of expectations for Zhou's future at this moment. She simply nodded to Zhou at the time. Don't worry, boss, you will get what you want, as long as you have the ability to pay the money to achieve your goal. Zhou nodded with satisfaction. He felt lucky to hire such a person as Elena, who understood what he meant at once. Elena was also very satisfied with her boss. He was young and could examine things moderately. He was not satisfied with being proud and arrogant because of wealth. Instead, he could figure these things out. He was really an unexpected person. Knowing that he was a person of color, it was obviously unrealistic to gain influence in the white world. Racial barriers are an unavoidable problem. Look at those black people. There are not many more of them than Asians, but they are doing better than you Asians in the United States. Even Hollywood requires black partners in every movie. And what about Asians? Only when the box office in Asia is needed will they consider adding a role, and they are not good roles. Zhou remembered thieves and gang members. Once there is a team belonging to the San Francisco area, ticket sales can be much more assured. There are more than 4 million Asians in California, and most of them are distributed in the San Francisco and Los Angeles areas. A stadium with tens of thousands of people can only have a 70% attendance rate. Just for the Chinese boss, many people can come. Jay Chou has a good plan. There are not many Asian Americans who can get ahead. There are only a few teams with Asian bosses in the major leagues, and Jay Chou is about to become one of them and become a well-known Asian. After operating here for another year or two, after discovering one or two local players, the team is expected to be more integrated into the local area and gain more support from people of other ethnic groups, especially since there are still many whites and blacks in it. As long as there are one or two Asians, it can attract attention, which gives Jay Chou a good space for operation. He has already thought about the Golden State Warriors. The Chinese Jeremy Lin wants to stay, even though his skills are only average in the league. But he will bring a lot of benefits to the Golden State team in the future. Even the Rockets, after Yao Ming left, tried every means to get him. Isn't it just to get the votes and attention of Asians and Chinese? The boss of the Rockets is not an easy person to deal with. Now the matter of the Golden State Warriors can be put on the agenda. Elena said that the guy from Oracle has also been spreading rumors recently. Jay Chou is not very worried about this. In the previous life, the team did not buy the Golden State Warriors, but bought it for the two brothers. Jay Chou also wants the right to acquire shares. Even if Hans wants to sell, he has to sell him first. But at this price, the old guy is like a greedy jackal, and he still wants to bite a big piece of meat. Jay Chou, who is driving, is also a little overwhelmed now. Forget it, don't think about this matter for now. Let's leave it to those professionals to operate. In the end, as long as we can buy the team, it's fine. Thinking about it, he turned to look at Mizi and said, Mizi, has Neha told you about the situation over there recently? Neha will make a note of what happened in China to Mizi, so that Zhao Jixi can ask. Yes, boss. Mizi said quickly. Tell me, is there anything important? Okay, Neha said that the company's profits have been very good recently. If possible, she thinks that she can increase the investment in this area. Zhao Jixi touched his forehead. Is this her idea or my two sisters' idea? Neha's idea. Yeah, Zhao Jixi nodded. The matter of the company in China is still decided by my two sisters. I'm actually making an investment without considering the return, as long as I don't lose money. Tell her that she doesn't need to pay too much attention to the wedding company over there. Okay, boss, I will tell Neha. Mizi nodded and wrote it down first. How has she been doing with the things I asked her to do recently? Neha said that 361 company also has that intention. If you want to raise funds from them, then we can still talk. But one of the conditions is that they hope you can join their company's board of directors to increase their influence in the United States. Oh, there are people who want me to join the board of directors? This company is really interesting, Zhao Jixi said with some interest. And Century Jiayuan, because the wedding company has business dealings with them, they seem very interested in you investing in them. Neha reported that it may only take 2 or 3 meetings, and if conditions permit, it may be successful. Miko said. Chapter 495 Go home and take a rest. 361, which had a great war with Penguin in the past, now has a much better price/performance ratio than Penguin. When Jay Chou found out, he planned to raise some money when they went public, but they also wanted him to join the company's board of directors. This matter really ruined his reputation. As for Apple, he thought that, when the stock price reached its peak in the future, he would sell all their shares. As for Facebook, he sold its shares in the secondary market 2 years later, before it went public. At that time, the market value was more than $100 billion US. Although it is not ruled out that investment institutions speculated, everyone also thought that Facebook would become a company like the second Apple and a second Microsoft, and Mark Zuckerberg might be a figure like Bill Gates. At that time, not many people could see that the value of Facebook was already inflated. They always thought that it would continue to grow, or it might even cause a storm in the stock market. But in fact, it cheated a lot of people. Zhao Jixi knew it in his previous life. In this life, of course, he took advantage of the popularity of Facebook and sold the shares before it went public. It really made the buyers not only spend money, but also be grateful to him for giving up this good thing. Mark Zuckerberg can't be the second Gates. He also thinks that he is the first Mark. Gates and others should get out as far as possible. As for Zhao Jixi, he doesn't mind becoming the second Paul, the co-founder of Microsoft. The old guy is a person who enjoys life and is worth learning from. Zhao Jixi still joined the board of directors of others, but finally sold the company. It is really a very professional business performance. To put it bluntly, it feels a bit sentimental. It is inevitable that it feels a bit weird. As for the website of Century Jiayuan, Zhao Jixi can only say that he paid special attention to it when the gun-shooting tools such as WeIron and Momo were not available. As a otaku, he might really catch a few fish by using these social tools to fish online. At least for Zhao Jixi, there were a few videos online, no worse than the video of playing cards on Penguin. There were very few girls who came out for video card games. Most of them were women, or widows in their 30s or 40s, which was really not something that ordinary people could handle. In his previous life, his body was really ordinary, and he had to be happy and painful every time. This company was listed on the Nasdaq in the United States in a few years. Before the listing, he made some money and got some shares. When he went public, it would be another good deal. Zhou Jixi planned to make use of the limited memory in his mind, and perhaps there would be more profitable things. But he could not remember much. Who knew he could travel through time? If he knew, he would have carried more of these things a long time ago, and there would be no need to play with mud now. Thinking about things while driving, the way home seemed to become very short. Unknowingly, he had already driven the car to Mariposa County, and it was only a few minutes away from his farm. I want to see the two little ducklings. I haven't seen them for 3 weeks. The last time I came back, I stayed for 2 days. I don't know if the little family misses me. Zhou Jixi seemed to be talking to Mizi, or as if he was talking to himself. If the ladies knew you were back, they would be very happy, Mizi said. Zhou Jixi smiled. I think so too. Niu has less time to call me, now that she has a grandfather. She used to call me several times a day, but now she only chats with me at night. She is even lazier than Xianshan. Mizi looked at Zhou Jixi's jealous look, and covered her mouth with a smile. Boss, you said that Miss Niu called so many times every day, and it was very helpless. Later, Miss Niu called less, and you praised her for being sensible. That's different. Zhou Jixi felt that no matter how he explained it, it looked a little pale, so he didn't force himself to say more about it. You don't have your own children, so you don't know how I feel. After he said this, he saw Miko's frustrated expression and laughed. Haha. The car quickly arrived at the farm. The outermost circle was already guarded by regular security personnel. Zhou Jixi's place is not the kind that just puts up wooden poles and tells people not to park. Although there are many soldiers, police and special forces among the security personnel, there are the most mercenaries. Almost all of the 4 security consultants have been mercenaries. In the past, these 4 people have been soldiers and special forces, and there are really no people from other industries. So even this basic guard job is full of military characteristics. The dark green metal railings are across the road leading to the farm, and next to it is a small bunker with a little design. It looks pretty good, but it is actually military. There is still a lot of space under the stylish bunker, and it is also comfortable inside. And under those dark green railings, you can see rows of tactical road-blocking mail plates. The most hateful thing is that they are still military ones. Zhou said it was bought from Germany. It is several times more powerful than the ones used by the police. It is used to deal with military vehicles. If a civilian car passes by, it will be out of the question. Zhou Jixi has sharp eyes and keen 5 senses, and he also found that there were people ambushing there with guns in the distance. And there was more than one person. Together with the people on the 2 high towers, there was probably a 5-man tactical team on duty. The handle in front of the door was really dedicated. If a group of ordinary terrorists really came, they would probably want to attack here without making any noise. And the old lady told him that there were other things buried here. Since it was buried, it was obviously that thing. Zhou Jixi estimated that it might be a landmine, but the old lady didn't say it, and Zhou Jixi pretended not to know. Even if something really happened in the future, he could shirk responsibility and didn't have to lie when swearing on the Bible in court. The laws in the United States are so bad. If you are found to have lied under oath, it is a serious crime. Even if it is a small lie, as long as it is under oath. If it is false, it will be unlucky. When Jay Chow watched the live broadcast of the hearings in the United States, people put one hand on the Bible and raised one hand to swear, swearing that their future testimony would be true. At that time, he thought it was quite funny and interesting. He thought if this was useful, why would people lie? But this thing is really useful. In the United States, if you lie normally, it is just a moral issue. But if you lie in court under oath, you will be charged with perjury, or the additional charge will be counted together with the original charge. If you are sentenced less, you will be sentenced more. Even if you come to testify, you will become a defendant in the end. The price of lying is very high. When prosecutors and lawyers ask defendants or witnesses to answer questions, they will remind you that this is an answer made under oath. This sentence alone will make those who want to lie think twice. After all, this is a felony. Even if they finally adopt no contest to exchange for a lighter sentence, it depends on the judge's mood. Basically, the minimum sentence is a few years of supervised imprisonment. It's a bit far-fetched. When Zhao Jixi came to his senses, the bodyguards following him had already honked their horns, and the people on duty outside had already discovered them. When Zhao Jixi saw the man coming over, he immediately recognized that this was Raymond's tactical team. Hey, Pierre, it seems you did a good job. Pierre already knew that Zhao Jixi was back, but he still had to check the car as a matter of duty. This was also Zhao Jixi's instructions. If he was kidnapped, they would not check it, because they were the boss. It doesn't matter if he is unlucky, but it's a sin if the car enters the villa and the old and young are unlucky. Although the kidnappers could not threaten his safety, the secret of the space should not be exposed, preferably for a lifetime, or for generations to come. Boss, welcome back. Pierre greeted Zhao Jixi with a normal look, pretending to look into the car casually. He found that there was no threat and Zhao Jixi did not show any special behavior, which meant that there was no safety accident. He smiled happily and said, "Boss, you are back at the right time. Ms. Yang seems to be in a good mood today. She cooked the food herself. The taste is really great. Thank you. It's a happy thing to go home." Zhao Jixi said with a smile. "Okay, Pierce, you are still so dedicated." Pierce was still wondering if Zhao Jixi had any intention in saying this. Why did he say this suddenly? The Chinese seem to have a lot of meaning in one sentence. But Zhao Jixi didn't give him time to think about it. He paused and said, "But I like it very much. Security work is something that needs people to do seriously." Pierce laughed and said, "This is what I should do." After that, he stopped disturbing Zhao Jixi and signaled his colleagues behind him to move things to a path so that Zhao Jixi's car could pass. However, it was only moved out of the distance for a car to pass. After all, it was his own people, so there was no need to be too formal. Only when Zhao Jixi had guests would they move that thing out of a large position. After Zhao Jixi's car passed, he waved at the man who was ambushing over there twice. This surprised the other person for a while, but there was no other impact. As a sniper, you must have a big heart. If he can't stand this, then don't do this job. But this also made him wonder, is this boss really amazing? Or is his ambush skill retarded? Zhao Jixi didn't know that his joking action also made this employee from the British Special Reaction Force self-examine for a long time. Fast update Pure Text Chapter 496 Female Bodyguard. These guys are doing pretty good. Zhao Jixi was in the car, feeling very satisfied with the attitude of the group of people who stayed at home. Serious and responsible. This is really a good medicine for him who lacks a sense of security. Report. The boss is back. The boss is back. The guard wired to the second location, which is the gate of the farm. Received. Falcon received. The people on the other side also replied quickly. When Zhao Jixi's cars drove to the gate, Zhou had already waited there. This guy seemed to be leading the team in training just now. Unexpectedly, he heard that the boss was back, so he took the new team members to meet Zhao Jixi. He glanced at the muddy team members behind him, carrying a big wood with gritted teeth, breathing regularly. Well, although they don't look so good now. Zhao Jixi saw this coquettish scene from a distance and suddenly felt like he was back in his previous life, watching the Special Forces training in the TV series. Actually, this thing can be trained. In addition to training physical strength and willpower, it can also cultivate team cooperation and tacit understanding. Have they been training like this recently? Zhao Jixi turned around and asked Mizi. Yes, the training plan formulated by Ms. Yang and several security consultants is mainly to help these newcomers get back to their form and let them know that this is a serious matter. Mizi said to Zhao Jixi. He tilted his head and said, well, they look very powerful. The car stopped at the gate and Zhao Jixi got out. He deliberately glanced at the team members who were carrying wood over there and took a few more glances at the women inside. They looked average, but their spirit was very attractive, but they already had a lot of muscles on their bodies. Two of them looked a bit like women from the Middle East, and there were two white people. Judging from their height, they looked a bit like Russian or Eastern European women. They were all tall and strong, and they were not inferior to men at all. The most eye-catching one is of course the black girl who has the ability to sneak in the dark. This girl has a nice figure, but she looks so muscular that it's hard to get hard. None of the women look very sexy. Zhao Jixi breathed a sigh of relief. In the future, when he goes out with a female bodyguard, at least he doesn't have to worry about eating grass at home. Kyo trotted over with an enthusiastic look, which made the new members who kept calling him the black-faced ghost complain. It's really the boss's treatment. We haven't seen this guy's smiling face recently. Boss, welcome home. Zhou Jixi smiled and pounded his muscular chest. You look good recently. Your muscles seem to be tighter than before. Kyo shook his chest proudly. I didn't have so much time to exercise before. Now when I have nothing to do, I practice more and build back some of my previous muscles. Zhou Jixi couldn't stand seeing someone showing off in front of him, so he shook his chest too. I've been exercising recently, so how about we arm wrestle later? Kyo hurriedly smiled bitterly. Boss, I don't think I'm a person with a tendency to self-abuse. I'm sick if I still play with you when I know I'm going to lose. Well, after being fooled a few times, he has learned his lesson and knows that his strength is no match for Zhou Jixi. Kyo won't go looking for trouble. Zhou Jixi gave him a look that said you're really boring, but Kyo absolutely didn't respond at all and was determined not to look for trouble. Why did you find a female member this time? Zhou Jixi asked him. This is a business need, and in the international bodyguard market, female bodyguards have always been in greater demand. Kyo explained. Is the market for female bodyguards hot? Zhou Jixi asked. Yeah. Kyo nodded and looked at Zhou Jixi's curious expression and continued. Although there is a market, various security companies often do not have enough female bodyguards to supply these customers. So in terms of the price of bodyguards, even if female bodyguards are less capable than male ones, their general asking price is still better than that of male bodyguards. Zhou Jixi was a little interested when he heard this. Could it be that those people are like those in novels, who not only need someone to protect themselves, but also need someone to protect their younger brothers? So he asked, why is that? The career of female bodyguards is much shorter than that of men, but the working years are also limited. Over time, women's abilities in all aspects will degenerate much faster than men, which also results in a disproportionate training and benefits. In addition to women's psychological and physiological factors, there are really not many who have good professional skills. So although many companies want to grasp this market, they can only get a small piece of the pie. Zhou Jixi understood when he heard this. It is obvious that women's careers cannot be as long as men's. When people reach the age, they have to fall in love and get married. Unless they are single, they can only prolong their careers. In addition, due to the physiological reasons of women, it is not cost effective to train them by themselves. What about our few people? They seem to be very good. Zhou Jixi was a little suspicious about the female bodyguards on his side. It seems that they really have no shortage of positions. Kyo got closer to Zhou Jixi and said to him, I believe you can tell what they did before. Boss. Zhou Jixi thought of this soldier without thinking. Bingo. Kyo snapped his fingers. 2 of them are Iranian soldiers, and the other 2 are female soldiers in Germany and Russia. As for the black girl, we met her when we were employed in Libya. Her fighting ability is not ordinary, and her close combat ability is much stronger than that of ordinary men. Then how did she get to me? This is the question that Zhou Jixi is most concerned about. Isn't it said that women in this profession are quite popular? Then why did they come here? They were introduced by Ms. Yang. Some of them knew Ms. Yang's students, and were introduced here through these connections. As for the black girl, she was introduced by laymen. Kyo explained to Zhou Jixi. Yeah. Zhou Jixi nodded to show that he understood. It turns out that many of them are related to each other. Maybe they think the salary and environment here are good. Otherwise why would they come here so dryly? Of course, he couldn't deny that this was also thanks to the old lady. Otherwise they might not come here. Yeah, I know. You continue to train them. Zhou Jixi nodded to Kyo. I won't say anything more. If we continue to talk like this, I think these guys don't know whether they should hate you or me. When he said this, he looked at the team carrying trees. The look of several women gritting their teeth and insisting. He felt that it was really tiring work. Kyo also looked back and smiled bitterly in his heart. He really couldn't talk anymore. So he nodded to Zhou Jixi, picked up the megaphone in his hand, and shouted at them. Then he waved goodbye to Zhou Jixi and took these rookies to go for a run. Looking at them sweating in the sun, Zhao couldn't help but feel fortunate that he had been born directly, otherwise he would probably work harder than them and earn less money than them. I'm really lucky. Thinking of this, he shook his head and got into the car, waving to the people behind him to follow. The gate was already open at this time, and the grandfather who raised Niu was not far away. Entering the farm at this time, Zhao missed his daughter more and more. After saying hello to the old man, he couldn't wait to start the engine. At this moment, he was really different from the free and easy look just now, as if he was not in a hurry at all. Niu, your dad is back. Zhao wanted to give his daughter a surprise, but after the old man greeted Zhao, he couldn't wait to take out a line talkie and shouted to the pink machine. Zhao couldn't help but stop while driving and stepped on the brake. Mizi was shocked, but she laughed a little because of the words of the old man and Zhao actions at this time. Zhao couldn't help but complain, "Fuck, this old man is too bad for his teammates." In the villa, the old lady was teaching the two English words and sentences. Zhao daughter's line talkie suddenly rang, and Niu's face lit up after hearing it. "Ah, dad is back. My dad is back," Niu said excitedly on the other end. Yes, Niu, your dad is back and will be home in a while," the old man responded quickly. "Yeah. Niu cheered happily and said to Xian, who was younger than her, "Xian, daddy is almost here. Let's go to the door to see them together, okay?" "Yes. Let's go find uncle." Xian stood up excitedly and wanted to go out immediately, but Niu stopped her. The old lady was not far from them at this time. Looking at the two nervous children, the old lady smiled and said, "Go, don't run too fast." As soon as she finished speaking, the two children ran out. She also hurriedly shouted from behind, slow down. You two children are really, run slowly, be careful not to fall." At this time, the two children didn't care about this. They ran to the door with a smile and looked out. As soon as they came out, they saw Zhao car at once, followed by two Ford Raptors that they were also familiar with. It's dad. Niu shouted happily. "This kid." Zhao looked at the two little people at the door in the car, and his heart was moved. It seemed that there was something in his eyes, and he felt uncomfortable. Update fast pure text chapter 497 home. Two children were running on the green grass, calling dad and uncle in crisp voices. Zhao felt for the nth time that his elder sister was a little unreliable. He had left his daughter here for almost a few months. Why didn't he take her back? Did he insist that I send her back or something? The two children ran over, and Zhao squatted down. Yes, they threw themselves into his arms. "My little princesses, tell me, do you miss me?" "Yes, I miss dad so much. When you were away, I ate less fruit." The daughter hugged Zhao neck and said crisply, Me too. The niece was not to be outdone, and quickly replied, "Dad, did you bring us gifts?" After the two children reminisced about their father's love, they went straight to the issue that the children were most concerned about, which was the one thing that adults must do when they come back from going out, that is, bringing gifts. As a Zhao who strives to be a good father, this little thing is of course prepared. Mizi had made a memorandum, and Zhao also asked the bodyguards to remember it, so that he or Mizi would not forget it when they came back. How disappointed the two children would be. I brought it. Zhao said softly, touching the children's heads with both hands. "I promised you when I called you. Don't worry, Dad, Uncle is a man. How could I forget about you?" The children cheered immediately after hearing this. "Yeah, Dad, that's great. Uncle, you are so good." Xianshan likes Uncle the most. Zhao couldn't help but smile elegantly, and the security personnel behind him also smiled at their boss's family. When Zhao, who had children at home, bought it, he also bought it for them, using his card. Tanran, who had a girlfriend, also brought some small gifts, which were not expensive, but very thoughtful. The bodyguard said no, but they couldn't resist Zhao enthusiasm. This also made them have a deeper understanding of their oriental boss, and they dared to feel lucky to be able to work under him. Zhao spent a small amount of money, but he got a lot of favor or loyalty from these people. It's just that in modern society, especially in the capitalist society of the United States, there is no such thing as loyalty. People pay attention to professional ethics. For the boss, employees with professional ethics are good employees. As for the issue of loyalty, some of them are a bit old-fashioned. You can only work for you if you can afford to pay them. If you can't pay, then everyone will say goodbye. There is a big difference between this kind of people and the loyalty understood by the Celestial Empire, or the blind loyalty and other magical skills that defy the heavens. There are not many in the world. In Zhou's opinion, a bodyguard with professional ethics is the best bodyguard. As for this little favor, if it can really be exchanged for the so-called loyalty, Zhou probably will laugh in his dreams. After laughing and joking with the two children for a while, he signaled the bodyguard to help him take out the gifts from the car, 2 wrapped gift boxes. According to Western customs, the two children of course opened them happily in front of him. The speed at which the two children tore the box was really not exaggerated. Into quick strokes, the colored paper on the surface was torn open, revealing the exquisite small gift box inside. Niu and Xianshan quickly opened the box, and it was a set of Barbie dolls. Immediately, the two children kissed Zhou twice happily, and then they ran back to the room, intending to play with the dolls in their hands. Zhou shook his head. He forgot his father, just because he had toys. He didn't know who ran so happily to see him just now. Well, he took the gift and ran off to play by himself. Children are like this. Wu Ziwen seemed to know what Zhou was thinking, and walked to his side and said something. I know, seeing them happy, I also feel very happy and happy. This is really a very strange feeling. Zhou said thoughtfully. This is the happiness of a father. Wu Ziwen looked very emotional. Well, you are a senior, I must ask this question carefully. Come to my house for a drink when you are free tomorrow. You probably have to have a good gathering with your family today. Zhou said to him. Wu Ziwen shrugged his shoulders. I have only recently summed up my experience. I was a much worse father than you before. Zhou nodded in understanding. He was not at home all day long. The mother and daughter stayed alone and didn't know that their husbands and fathers would die on the battlefield one day, and they might not even receive the news. Aren't you also being a competent father now? And it seems that you are doing a good job. Thank you, boss. Your humane policy has made our work much easier, and I have a lot of time to accompany my family. This also won me the hearts of the children. To be honest, thank you so much. Wu Ziwen said this with great emotion, and his gratitude to Zhou was real. Okay, stop flattering me. If I don't pay you a high salary, how can I keep you masters to work for me? Zhou patted his shoulder and said, I'm home too. Your mission is now completed. Go and have a few days rest. Okay, boss. Wu Ziwen nodded and turned around and said to his team members, okay, everyone should want to rest now. Of course, I do too. But we still have to go to the headquarters to hand over these equipments, and then everyone can rest. The team members said happily, yeah, that's great, boss. Zhou then took Miko into the house. The old lady had already come out. She had just chatted with the two children, and then she chatted with her security consultant for a few words. Then she saw her at the door. Master. He greeted quickly. The old lady nodded. You are back. Come in first. I will test your recent studies later. I wonder if you have fallen behind in your studies outside. Zhou said with a confident look on his face. Don't worry, master. I can't forget to practice martial arts, even if I forget something. Didn't you say that practicing martial arts is like sailing against the current? If you don't advance, you will retreat. I will practice every day. You will see it later. He is really practicing well. Although he is not as crazy as before, he is not bad now. At least he keeps exercising every day. If there is not enough time, he will go into the space to fight a set of boxing or exercise on the lawn of the Brotherhood of the Holy Land. Fortunately, the way he practices looks like a trick to outsiders. Everyone just regards Zhou as a martial arts enthusiast and doesn't pay much attention to it. In fact, Zhou is still really just a martial arts enthusiast, but this enthusiast has a little more solid foundation. The old lady looked at Zhou Jixi's body shape and nodded with satisfaction. His steps were calm and powerful. It seemed that he had not fallen behind in his usual horse stance. Then I'll see if your kung fu has improved. Zhou Jixi went back to his room to rest after returning home. He had just driven for several hours. He was also a little tired. After closing the door and locking it, he entered the space and planned to soak in the river of vitality before going out. As usual, he opened a gap and asked the goblins to stand guard and monitor what was happening outside so that they could report to Zhou Jixi later. He soaked in the river of vitality, his body floating with the river water, and began to turn around and around the mother tree. The river water was flowing like this, but when Zhou Jixi went to add water, he didn't see it decrease. It was just that, if he added too much, it would affect the spiritual energy structure in the space, so he didn't dare to add too much. Zhou Jixi guessed that this river might be made by spiritual energy, but this didn't make sense. Could it be absorbed by the space? Then after adjusting the spiritual energy of the space, the current effects that are beneficial to Zhou Jixi were produced, and of course, the vitality water that is also beneficial to the plants it cultivates is also good. He soaked in the river and thought for a while, but still couldn't figure it out, so he stopped thinking about it. Since he couldn't figure it out, he would think about it next time. Zhou Jixi was not in a hurry to explore and decipher anything. He was very satisfied with his current life, and there was no need to add any trouble. After soaking for a while, Zhou Jixi felt relaxed. He came out and stretched his waist, and his whole body suddenly made a crackling sound. Fuck, this sounds really awesome. After a round of boxing, he came out of the space in high spirits. He casually performed 2 more combos, feeling more proficient than before, and it felt a bit like using it. Master, I won't be defeated by you so easily this time. Zhou Jixi thought secretly in his heart and planned to find the old lady. After he changed into a set of training clothes, he planned to go to old lady Yang. The old lady had already changed into training clothes. She looked much more stylish than Zhou Jixi. Zhou Jixi could only be considered handsome. After entering the training room, he bowed to the old lady and said, "Hello, master, I'm here. Please be merciful." The old lady nodded and then made a starting gesture. "You have to be careful." Zhou Jixi also made a starting gesture. "Well, try your best." The old lady's hand hit Zhou Jixi in front of his eyes. Fortunately, he reacted quickly and felt it when the old lady hit him. He tilted his head and body to the side to avoid the old lady's sneak attack. "Well, the reaction speed is very fast," the old lady commented. "Of course." Before Jess finished speaking, the old lady launched another quick attack. He quickly responded and blocked the attacking hand. After several rounds of fighting, Zhou Jixi was beaten again, but compared to the past, he has improved a lot. Quick update: Pure Text Chapter 498. Cyan is in heat. Zhou Jixi took an egg and put it on his eyes. He took it off when he was eating dinner. Looking at the face in the mirror, the bruises on his eyes were not very obvious. He didn't dare to use the plants in the space to cure it immediately. He just used the stimulating ointment given by the old lady in the hot compress of the egg to remove the bruises. This old lady is really cruel. She beat my handsome face like this. It's really bad luck for me to be disfigured. Zhou Jixi looked at the mirror and complained. When the old lady just returned to the room, her hands were actually shaking in a place where Zhou Jixi couldn't see. She was also shocked in her heart. Eating so much at every meal is really useful. This child is born with great strength. With the big moves, it hurts so much when I wipe it. Fortunately, my kid is not experienced, but it also makes me unable to stop now. I don't know if the bruises on his face have disappeared. The old lady just showed off in front of Zhou Jixi, and now she is also worried about her apprentice. Dinner was cooked by the family's nannies, and it was a combination of Chinese and Western cuisine. The family's nannies' Chinese cooking skills are not exaggerated, at least they can reach the level of the small shops in China. Zhou Jixi couldn't help but praise the old lady's teaching ability in his heart, which was really amazing. The 2 little girls stayed in the room for several hours. I don't know what they were playing so fun. Even if it was playing house with the newly bought Barbie, they must be tired of it now, right? Zhou Jixi sat down at the main seat. The old lady was already sitting next to the long table. She looked up at her apprentice. The bruises on his face had almost disappeared, but there were still some blood-like red marks on it. With Zhao aggrieved look at this time, the old lady couldn't help but smile softly. Zhao couldn't help but complain, "Master, you are still laughing. Next time you hit me, can you not hit me in the face?" Fortunately, no one saw it, otherwise I would have no place to put my face. "You don't have enough skills, but you blame me. Didn't I tell you not to copy the routines mechanically, but to learn and apply them flexibly? You just didn't think about it, otherwise you wouldn't be able to catch me at once." The old lady talked about this in a set of sets, and her theoretical knowledge was not ordinary. He listened for a while, and felt that it made sense, but fortunately, the old lady saw that the dishes were almost served, so she stopped talking about it. Anyway, she could teach this knowledge tomorrow, so there was no rush. Ask her mother and the two to come down for dinner. Zhao ordered Mizi, but after saying it, he remembered that she was no longer his family's nanny at this time, and now she has been upgraded to an assistant. But Mizi nodded immediately, stood up and walked towards the two children's room. After the children came out, Zhao always felt that something was missing at home, and it felt a little boring. Suddenly, by the way, where did Wan Ke, Wan Fu, Wan Xiao, Seiya and those little monkeys go? He just remembered that when he was at home, these guys were the most active when it was time for dinner. Today, when she came back, she found that these guys were not here. How could she not feel strange? Wan Ke and the others went to fight thieves with Uncle Atwood Allen. Seiya and Liu are watching TV in the small room. Seiya wants to watch those female gorillas. Niu spoke immediately after Zhao asked, as if she was afraid that Shan or the old lady would steal her credit. Fight thieves. Zhao knew what Niu was talking about. When he went hunting some time ago, he always said that these herbivores were thieves who specialized in eating their grass and didn't pay. This also made the children more receptive to him hunting animals, and Niu's later performance showed that his words had a good effect. Seiyan and the others are watching TV in the room. Is it the kind of TV that broadcasts female gorillas? Zhao analyzed one by one. Yeah. This time it was Xianshan. The girl had been paying attention to Zhao. When she saw him talking, she nodded and answered quickly, not caring that the food in her mouth had been thrown on her face by her nod. They are all watching TV in the room. Niu was interrupted by her sister, and she was a little disappointed. She could only think that she would be faster than her sister next time. Zhao looked at the two girls and nodded with satisfaction. It is true that an old man in the family is like a treasure. The old lady's ability to educate people is really beyond words. Compared with those naughty children who Zhao saw in his previous life, who were angry and had a bad temper at any time, the two children are really very well behaved. Although they have a little temper, they will not lose their temper casually. They are also very polite to adults and eat well. If there is no child, parents will follow them around the house for a meal. When they are happy, they only eat a bite. When they are unhappy, they have to spit out what they have eaten. If you scold the child and he cries, he will have to spit out what he has eaten before. That is a big loss. Watching TV in the room, this monkey is really capable. Zhao sighed with a smile, and then stood up. "Master, I will go and see." The old lady nodded. "Go, hurry up, the food will get cold soon. If Seiya doesn't come out, you can drag him out. Otherwise, wait for him to finish watching TV and leave some food for them." The old lady's instructions made him a little confused. What happened to Seiya, the gorilla? Zhao was also a little curious, and then he said to the two children, "Eat quickly, don't play." "Yeah." The two children nodded in response. The old lady was opposite them. Zhao was not worried at all that the two children would dare to play and not eat when he left. Came to the room prepared for Seiya and Liu, which is used for activities and sleeping. When the door was opened, a large and small pair of eyes looked over, and Zhao looked surprised. When Seiya and the little monkeys saw that it was Zhao, they immediately shouted in surprise and ran over. The little guys jumped on the small rope prepared for them and came to Zhao from the air. Seiya stood up and pounded his chest a few times. Oh, oh, and ran over. Seiya has grown up in 3-dimensional form these days. Overall, it seems that he has grown 2 times bigger. To be precise, he has grown at least 1.5 times stronger. Niu always said that his father also has muscles as good as Seiya, and his muscles are much more interesting than Seiya's, and they are not so hairy. Zhou Jixi looked at the current Seiya. He had only been gone for a few weeks, and he started to grow again. This is because silverback gorillas are vegetarians in the wild, eating leaves, grass, fruits and the like. Every day, they have to eat a lot of food and digest it in their stomachs to get enough physical supplements. However, because they eat more, when Saiyan gorillas grow up, their stomachs are very prominent, like a big beer belly, which is bigger than a woman's 10-month pregnancy. Captive gorillas can become omnivorous animals, and gorillas will also eat meat. And Saiyan is a gorilla who likes to eat meat, so compared with other gorillas, its stomach is much smaller. In addition to beef and other meats, its height and muscles have also grown a lot. Thinking back to what Saiyan looked like when he was a child, and compared to what he looks like now, he is really a little dazed. When he was a child, Zhou Jixi could hold him up with one hand and he could act like a spoiled child in his arms. Looking at Saiyan in front of him now, when he walks on all fours, his height is almost up to Zhou Jixi's knees. When he stands up, his height is almost half the height of Zhou Jixi's body. The bones on his body are not as thin as before. Now his body, built with a skeleton, is much stronger than before. And his muscles seem to have grown a lot. Zhou Jixi couldn't help but sigh that he is indeed an animal of livestock level. His growth is really amazing. Seiya came over and asked him to hug him, but Zhou Jixi refused directly. After all, this guy has grown up now. Although he is very strong, he can't stand the gorilla coming a few more times. Besides, if he continues to grow in the future, he will have to continue to hug him, which will be exhausting. Looking at this big animal, Zhou Jixi shook his head with difficulty. Seiya, he can only hug Zhou Jixi's thigh. It is the minimum requirement for not being able to get a hug. At least he can hug his thigh. After hugging twice, its head looked inside. Looking at a gorilla in the documentary, a female gorilla, Seiya looked over from time to time, and Zhou Jixi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Then Seiya pulled Zhou Jixi's trouser legs and pulled him to the TV. Seiya ran to the TV and pointed at the female gorilla on the TV. He made a kissing gesture with his lips, and his face seemed to be intoxicated. Seeing its mean look, Zhou Jixi wanted to give Seiya a slap on the back of its head. Is it the gorilla's estrus period? But, isn't it said that it takes several years for it to become an adult, and only after adulthood will it have that kind of impulse? Why is this little guy thinking about this now? This made Zhou Jixi a little puzzled and laughed and cried. Fuck, you are still a TV romance. What do you mean by asking me to watch this now? Zhou Jixi couldn't help but say. Seeing that Zhou Jixi didn't have any instructions, Seiya continued to point to that, or another female gorilla, and made a kissing gesture. It can be imagined that Seiya's 2 big lips, together with such a gesture, really affected the harmony. At least Zhou Jixi really couldn't stand it. Fast update pure text. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 499 Education. Zhou Jixi was almost in a state of dismay. Did this gorilla take too many hormones in the United States, and even developed much earlier, like some humans, and matured early? Thinking of this, he felt that it was impossible. He usually ate things at home, so this problem should not exist, right? After the dismay, Zhou Jixi was a little worried. What happened to this kid? Seiya, come here first. Zhou Jixi said, and waved to it. Seiya was still pouting his lips, as if he wanted to kiss the gorilla on the TV, but after hearing Zhou Jixi's words, he still ran over happily. Woo woo. Anyway, this time, Seiyan seemed to be full of energy. His hair, which had been combed back with wax by the 2 naughty kids, seemed to be sticking up. He pulled Zhou Jixi with his hand, and wanted to go down quickly. Seeing Seiyan like this, he felt relieved. This is normal. Seiyan is a person who cares about food more than anything else. Zhao Jixi nodded secretly in his heart, but he thought that he should find a veterinarian to check it out tomorrow. Then he whistled again, and the little finger monkeys who were still playing on the rope in the room followed him out. One person, one gorilla and a few little finger monkeys walked into the restaurant together. Xianshan's mouth was full of sauce, and she was holding a fork in one hand to pierce the beef cut by the nanny. When she saw Seiya brought by Zhao Jixi, she said, "Hey, Seiya, if you hadn't come, we would have eaten your steak. You are not on time for meals, so we won't prepare it for you next time." Zhao Jixi was very upset when he heard this. When did this gorilla have the same meal time as humans? It was just that Zhao Jixi felt that Seiya was also a family member. From the time he adopted it until now, he basically had to eat at this time. However, because of this, the dinner was very rich. Seiya also learned to eat less snacks 1 or 2 hours before this time. Even his favorite fruit, he only ate a little bit at that time, leaving his stomach for a big meal at mealtime. Okay, Xianshan, eat your food quickly. Chew the beef a few more times. Don't swallow it raw, just because you think it tastes good. Looking at the child with sauce all over her face, he didn't mean to wipe it off. The old lady taught that children shouldn't be fed by adults at this stage. They should learn to use knives and forks or chopsticks by themselves. As for the sauce on her face, she will get it on even if you wipe it clean before she finishes eating. It's better to wait until she finishes eating. When children know how to be clean, they will learn how to eat cleanly and how to wipe the sauce off their faces. The old lady said that this is what the Americans said to cultivate children's independent consciousness and independent thinking ability. Well, Zhao Jixi thought that this would save him a lot of effort, and he thought this method was good. At the beginning, Xianshan, who had a grandma, a grandmother, and a father and mother in China, was of course not used to it. The food was not very good at that time, and the old lady had requirements for the children. Basically, they could take as much as they could eat, but if they took so much, they had to finish it. If they couldn't finish it, they had to sit down. 1 hour, 2 hours, anyway, you couldn't leave the table until you finished eating, and you must not develop the habit of wasting food. Zhao Jixi in this life can guarantee that he is absolutely the most thorough in this regard. He can solve any leftovers and can be called a table cleaner. The children also adapted to it for a few days before getting used to it. Sometimes they would be clever and eat less. Once or twice, the old lady took action herself and asked the nanas to do more tricks. The dishes at home were fragrant. After they finished eating, they still wanted to eat, so they took a little more until they couldn't eat it. Zhao Jixi has never let the children go hungry until now. In addition, there are many desserts and fruits made by the nanny at home, as well as original flavored wheat biscuits, etc., so the children really can't go hungry. Xianshan has gained almost 10 pounds in a few months here and looks more fleshy. Niu is even more amazing. She used to look a little malnourished. The old lady specially made a medicinal diet for a period of time. In addition, she ate well and slept well. If she hadn't been forced to exercise and practice boxing, she would definitely be a little fat girl at this time. At the dinner table, Xianshan listened to Zhao Jixi's lesson. I knew it a long time ago. Uncle, please stop talking about it, okay? You unlucky child, how can you talk to me? You are learning the Shanghai accent. Do you want to be beaten? Zhao Jixi said to his niece, and then walked over and gently knocked the child's head. Xianshan was not afraid, but laughed loudly. Niu was also amused by the sight. She quickly swallowed the food in her mouth, and couldn't help laughing. However, she might have laughed too fast, and coughed a few times. The old lady looked at the few people laughing and coughed. We are eating. Don't mess around with children. It affects their digestion. Hey. Zhao Jixi shrank his head and responded quickly. Putting the impatient Saiyan next to it, the boy couldn't wait to pick up the fork, to pick up the cut steak, and occasionally picked up a few leaves from the woven basket next to it to chew. Maybe it felt a bit dry, so he took a few sips of the animal drink with grass and sugarcane sugar next to it. Although it also likes watermelon juice, Saiyan is particularly fond of grass juice that Zhao Jixi and others don't like or don't drink. If you add some original sugarcane sugar to make the drink a little sweet, it will be the most perfect match for it. Zhao Jixi felt that there was something wrong with Seiyan when he came back. He hasn't been at home recently. I don't know what happened. Master, how many days has Seiya been like this recently? Didn't he run out immediately when it was time for dinner before? Today he was watching TV in his room. Seiya, this monkey has been like this for a few days recently. The old lady thought for a while, as if she was reminiscing. It seems that he watched a program about the animal world a few days ago, which talked about a group of gorillas. He became obsessed with it, and even recorded the program, and watched it in his room. Is that so? Zhao Jixi nodded, not feeling strange at all that Seiya would record the program. A gorilla with the IQ of a 5 or 6 year old child watched the TV program next to him for so long. There were only a few buttons, and Zhao Jixi taught him to operate them a few times and he would have learned to do it by himself. Hearing what you said, I also feel that it is a bit strange. The old lady saw Zhao Jixi thinking, and felt that the gorilla at home had been acting a bit strange recently. Forget it, I can't think of the reason. I'll find a veterinarian tomorrow to ask. Zhao Jixi said as he looked at Seiya who was eating happily. At night, Zhao Jixi specially called Seiya, Niu and Shine to play together. Seiya also had a lot of fun. In the activity room, he happily pounded his chest and kept whining. After playing for a while, Zhao Jixi was afraid that the two children would be easily awakened at night if they continued playing. So he stopped playing sports games and changed to children's puzzle games. Seiya was really good at playing with the two children in this regard. His childlike IQ was really not exaggerated. Let's say playing puzzles. After everyone looked at a picture together, several people started to piece it together. Of course, it was a large-scale puzzle, otherwise Seiya's micro-manipulation of his hands would be really uncontrollable. There was no way around it. The touch of the orangutan was much weaker than that of humans, especially the delicate work of the hands. It couldn't handle slightly smaller things well. It was not good at birth, and it was still difficult to handle it after birth. At least Seiya couldn't do it at this stage. Niu, come on, you have to think carefully about the picture you just saw, and the distribution of colors and areas. Don't be anxious to find and put it together. Zhao Jixi taught his daughter softly. Niu nodded. Well, I know, Dad, but it's really hard. I can't remember it. Can I look at the picture again? Of course. If you need it. Zhao Jixi is not so harsh on children. After all, they are still young, and they can't be asked and forced too much. Before I became a father, I didn't know these things at all. Fortunately, there are books and the internet in the world. He recently read a few books about children's education, and is trying to use them now. After looking at his daughter's puzzle, Zhao Jixi looked at his niece. The child took a puzzle with an obviously wrong color, and put it together. He reminded her, Xianshan, this piece is not placed here. Look, the color is a bit wrong. As he said that, he pointed his finger up, and pointed it to Xianshan. Oh, yes. Xianshan took a look, and found that it was indeed different from the one on the drawing. She immediately picked it up again, and tried to piece it together. Then Zhao Jixi looked at Seiyan's puzzle. The boy was comparing a puzzle piece with the original picture. On his tablet, several area maps have been pieced together. This gorilla is really amazing. He is worthy of being my Seiyan. He is better than many adults. Zhao Jixi didn't think his own child was too much, even though many of them were corrected with his help. Dad, you can't always help Seiyan cheat. Daughter Niu saw that Seiyan had put together more than her, and she immediately became anxious. Xianshan looked up and immediately became anxious. Seiyan cheated. Uncle cheated. Zhao Jixi couldn't help but smile bitterly. Okay, I can't help. Besides, Seiyan only did one thing wrong. I have reminded you all. Update fast pure text chapter 500. Veterinarians come to the country. Chapter 500. The weather in California is really good. The breeze in the morning caressed Zhao Jixi early and started his morning exercises every morning. The old lady had been doing her exercises there for several years. He greeted her again and started his morning exercises. Then the old lady gave him some instructions. He went to see the bodyguards. Those guys started training since last night. When Zhao Jixi went to see them, although they stood straight, they all seemed a little limp. Kyle trotted over. His mini vest was close to his body, revealing his muscular body. Zhou Jixi was the same. Although he was wearing a moon-white short training suit, his conspicuous streamlined muscles were also very eye-catching. "Boss, you are still so early." Kyle greeted him. "I'm used to it." Zhou Jixi pointed his head at the people standing over there. "How long have they been like this?" Kyle raised his hand and looked at his watch. 5 hours. Wow. Zhou Jixi looked at him in surprise. These are all basics. Anyone who has received a certain amount of military training can and must reach this level. So, boss, there is nothing to be surprised about. Kyle explained. "Okay, you are expert in this area, so I won't get involved." Zhou Jixi nodded and let these professionals do it. With the old lady watching, it is estimated that there will be no accidents. Besides, the old lady is an old instructor with decades of training experience. She also participated in their training brief. Everything went according to plan. "Thank you, boss." Kyle stood at attention and saluted, then turned back to supervise these rookies. The newcomers saw their future boss again. These guys wanted to gossip, but unfortunately, with so many instructors watching, they could only chat with their eyes. Raymond, the big black man, is no pushover. "You guys, you still have the energy to wink at each other. Well, it seems that our instructors are not doing enough. This is our mistake. We didn't squeeze out your last bit of energy," Raymond said as he started walking, as if under pressure, approaching them. "So now, you guys, run 10 more laps." "Yes sir," everyone shouted in unison. Then they slowly started to run after their hands and feet were a little stiff because of standing. "Are you a group of sheep? Are you still a group of children who haven't grown up? Run faster." Because there are women in the team, Raymond can't call them women or bitches, even if he wants to. He is not a fool. This company is not the army. If he says something that shouldn't be said, or is discriminatory and insulting, these women will not be polite to him. It is possible to sue him in court. It's a very simple thing, because this is the United States, a country that is free but not free. Zhou Jixi looked back at these guys, smiled and walked away. What a bunch of poor guys. If they had joined my company earlier, they wouldn't have to suffer so much. These old birds just want to establish their authority. Although he didn't say it, he knew it very well in his heart. Going home for breakfast, the nannies already know how to fry dough sticks, and the golden and crispy dough sticks are placed on the plate. There are also steamed buns, and steamed buns on the left. Meat is also indispensable. Zhou Jixi eats meat for every meal, and everyone in the family knows it. It's just that the nannies will make meat lighter in the morning, and they use fruit sauce to irrigate it. Zhou Jixi's appetite was aroused when he saw the fried dough sticks. He looked at the old lady with surprise. "Wow, master, our 2 children can make fried dough sticks now?" The old lady drank a mouthful of porridge, nodded and said, "Well, I taught them when I had time, but I didn't expect them to learn so quickly. Try it, it's fried pretty well." "Well, I have to try it quickly." Zhou Jixi immediately walked over and sat down, picked up one, and started to bite it. Then his eyes lit up, and he quickly bit a few times and swallowed it. "Well, it tastes very good." After eating one, he praised it. "It's good that you like it. If you want to eat it in the future, ask them to make it, so as not to talk about finding a Chinese chef." Zhou Jixi ate the fried dough sticks, and touched the back of his head embarrassedly. This was when he complained that the nannies at home couldn't cook Chinese food, and he casually said that he would hire a Chinese chef to cook. "It feels like I'm an Alvorish." This joke has left the old lady with a lot of time, and now it is used to talk about him. Haha. I was just saying it casually at that time. Okay, I won't tease you anymore. When are you going to return to China? The old lady asked. I haven't thought about it yet. It's probably in the next few days. It's not a big deal. Zhou Jixi said. Well, it's not bad to spend more time with the children. The old lady nodded and said. In the afternoon, Zhou Jixi sat in the living room and waited, looking at his watch from time to time. Seiya was playing not far away, but Zhou Jixi saw that he looked a little absent-minded, and even ate bananas, and touched his nose. Looking at Seiya, Zhou Jixi's mobile phone in his pocket rang. Boss, Dr. Smithson's car has passed the perimeter, and is not far from the farm gate. It is estimated that he will arrive at the villa in about 10 minutes. Martin, the Italian security consultant, reported to Zhou on the phone. This is also what Zhou had explained. Well, I got it. Thank you, Martin. This is what I should do as a boss. Martin said. Yes. After saying it, Zhou hung up the phone. He waved to Seiya and said, Seiya, come here and I'll give you something delicious. Seiya ran over happily, but not as excited as before. This kid is really a bit problematic. Zhou secretly began to worry again. He took out a big peach and handed it to Seiya. The food that looked delicious before could only make it happy for a while, not excited. 10 minutes later, the bodyguard walked to the door with a middle-aged man in a suit. Zhou walked out and opened the door. Are you Dr. Smithson? Yes, I am. The man had a big beard and wore a white coat. It was estimated that he did not take it off when he was in the clinic. It is also possible that he always wears it when he sees patients. Hello. Zhou grabbed his hand, shook hands and said, I'm Jess Zhou. I believe you must know it. Yes. Smithson looked at him a little strangely. I just didn't expect you to be so young. Thank you for your compliment. Zhou laughed. Although this is a fact, it also makes me feel comfortable to surprise you. Smithson was embarrassed for a moment, but he had encountered strange customers before, so Zhou's was nothing. Let's talk first. Zhou said, motioning to Smithson. He nodded in agreement, and Zhou continued, what do you want to drink? Coffee, juice, or something else? Juice is fine, as long as it's not pear juice. Smithson said. No problem. Zhou asked the nanny to squeeze some juice for the veterinarian. Smithson looked around here first, and soon his eyes fell on Seiyan. He looked carefully all night, and then he was sure that he was not wrong. This was indeed a silverback gorilla. Now it is a cherished and protected animal, and I didn't expect that this young rich man actually kept one here. Then he saw a photo on the wall. It was a photo of 2 children and a tortoise. The 2 of them were riding on it, and the tortoise was holding its head high, looking arrogant. Zhou happened to take a photo of this scene. When Smithson saw this, his heart was excited again. This was another rare animal, and it was endangered. Then some species such as the platypus appeared in the photo, which made him calm down a lot. It was not strange for the rich to have these in their homes, although these animals were endangered and were not allowed to be bought and sold. But these appeared here. Smithson dared to guarantee that these guys were in this young man's home. It was absolutely legal and reasonable. Even if he went to the police would probably have no way to deal with him. His private consultant or lawyer had already thought of these things. How could they let their boss suffer these legal crises? Smithson looked at Seiyan at this time. It was already a little dazed and absent-minded. Even his favorite fruit was eaten much slower. Smithson looked at Seiya for a few more times, and then smiled confidently. My patient should be this orangutan? Although it was a question, his tone was very sure. This also surprised Zhou a little. He carefully looked at the bearded veterinarian again. If this guy changed into a white robe, he almost looked like a serious terrorist, but the slightly fat physique would probably drag him down a lot. Yes, it's Seiya. Zhou nodded and replied. Doctor, do you see what's wrong with it now? When I came back yesterday, my teacher and my daughter told me that Seiya has been like this for several days, and he has been a little less enthusiastic recently, or not as energetic as before. I can't be sure of its condition yet. Smithson looked at Seiya again, and then said, can you let it get closer? I want to observe it more carefully. He paused here. There seemed to be nothing fixed on Seiya's feet, hands, and neck. Just this moment, he stopped and wanted to stand up and go over. He looked at Zhou and then said, is it aggressive? Chapter 501, Illness. Zhou looked at Seiya, who looked honest, with a good look on his face, and looked at the veterinarian who said that our Seiya was aggressive. Zhou stared at him for a while. Okay, doctor, I admit that your professional knowledge is still good. Seiya will be a little unfriendly to unfamiliar people. He used a little position of his fingertips to indicate how rare it was. When the doctor saw the fangs in Seiya's mouth, he knew that these were definitely not teeth that could grow from a vegetarian diet. Compared with the vegetarian gorillas, Seiya's teeth are sharper, which can be found in some carnivorous species. As a carnivorous gorilla, Smithson would not be unprepared. I think, should we find something to put it? Smithson looked at Zhao Jixi and said a little euphemistically, tie it up. Zhao Jixi looked directly at the doctor. Are you kidding me, doctor? I don't think this is funny at all. I know. As a pet living with you, it means a lot to you. Smithson wanted to explain. He had experienced a lot in this line of work, and this was just a small thing. Zhao Jixi waved his hand to stop him. Okay, doctor, I'm sorry just now. I was a little excited, you know. Looking at this good-tempered doctor, he was also a little embarrassed. Let me hold Seiyan. Don't worry, he will never get out. I can guarantee this. Smithson wanted to think about it, and then saw Zhao Jixi directly folded a steel craft on the table with his hands, and then folded it again. Then he handed the thing directly to him, and Smithson swallowed in astonishment. His face couldn't help but become dull, and he couldn't help but weigh the total amount of the thing in his hand. The facts told him that the man in front of him was definitely not performing acrobatics or magic with him. I saw Zhao Jixi's muscles again, and the muscles that swelled up under the power just now. He is really a Hercules, his muscles are so well trained. The bodyguards beside him also swallowed their saliva. They didn't expect that the boss was even more powerful than he looked. This strength, this explosive power, and this kind of power application, they can't do it anyway. I think I have no reason to doubt you, sir. You really surprised me too much. Veterinarian Smithson looked at Zhao Jixi with admiration and said. Zhao Jixi shrugged his shoulders in a pretentious manner. This is the power of Chinese Kung Fu. Haha. After saying that, he held Seiya in front of him. Okay, I'll check you. Don't move around, understand? Seiya nodded. No matter who is in front. Zhao Jixi pointed at the veterinarian and said, whatever he does to you, unless he wants to blow your ass, don't grab him or bite him. He looked at Seiya's eyes and looked very serious. Do you understand? Smithson looked at Zhao Jixi. Although the gorilla is very smart, but you have said so many words, how can you ask it to analyze? It's really a mess. The veterinarian seemed to be watching an amateur owner directing his even more amateur gorilla to do very amateur things for his safety. The doctor was about to speak, but saw Seiyan looking at the veterinarian Smithson, and after a while nodded to show that he understood. Ignoring Smithson's surprise, Zhao Jixi asked again, do you really understand? This time Seiyan immediately nodded to show that he understood. Okay, what a good Seiyan in our family. For Seiya, who brought him a lot of honor, Zhao Jixi did not save words of praise. Later, the veterinarian Smithson began to test and observe Seiya. During this period, the old lady came once, but felt that she could not help, so she went to her room to read books. However, the books she read were also about monkeys and gorillas. She was also worried about Seiya behind the scenes. As for the two little babies at home, Zhao Jixi sent them to the old man to play. He did not want them to disturb their actions here. In addition, he did not want the children to worry about Seiya, so he did not tell them about finding a doctor. After some fiddling, Seiya felt a little bit better, but Zhao Jixi's heart was up and down. The doctor had a different expression from time to time. He also asked him for videos of Seiya in recent days. Zhao Jixi's family did take some pictures, especially Seiya's room. He installed a camera, just in case these guys had any accidents or fights. Smithson looked at a few tapes, and wrote something on his notebook, intermittently. After an hour or so, Veterinarian Smithson finally completed the preliminary examination. Doctor, how is Seiyan? Is there anything wrong with his body? He is not yet at the age of estrus. I heard that precocious puberty is a disease. Seeing that the professionals seemed to have done almost everything, Zhao Jixi asked. The doctor smiled and looked at Zhao Jixi and said in a gentle voice, don't worry, Mr. Zhao, there is nothing wrong with Seiyan's body. This boy is very healthy. As for the precocious puberty you mentioned, there is no such thing at all. Zhao Jixi breathed a sigh of relief, but he didn't understand Seiyan's abnormality, so he asked quickly, what's the problem with Seiyan? According to my preliminary understanding, Seiyan's condition is a bit like human depression. Orangutans, like humans, are social animals. Doctor, but, among the gorillas and monkeys in the zoo, there are not only one or two of them, and I haven't seen any of them suffering from the depression you mentioned. Zhao Jixi was not very satisfied with this answer. Mr. Zhao, it is not polite to interrupt others. I wanted to continue talking. Please don't interrupt me, okay? Veterinarian Smithson said to him helplessly. Embarrassed. Zhao Jixi was really a little embarrassed at this time. I'm sorry, I was too anxious. I really didn't mean to say that. It's okay, Mr. Zhao. I accept your apology, and I can understand your feelings now. Then Zhao Jixi nodded and motioned Smithson to continue. What I'm going to say next may be a special case in Saiyan. Smithson paused here. Based on my observation just now, Saiyan's IQ is among the higher IQ gorillas. I think you should know something, Mr. Zhao, right? Zhao Jixi nodded, glanced at Saiyan, and said to him, that's true. Our Saiyan is so smart that even children of a few years old may not be as smart as him in terms of IQ. Don't you think about what he usually eats? Only by eating more meat and drinking more milk can he become smart. Zhao Jixi was very proud when he said this. He changed the posture of Saiyan and let him get closer to the doctor. I tell you, the juice must be freshly squeezed, and the grass must be the fresh and tender grass from our farm, and the leaves are no exception. It's best to squeeze the juice and add sugarcane sugar as an additive. Everyone present was really shocked by their boss's talk, and they could only sigh that the boss probably looked like a rich man, only when he was talking about some details. He was usually like a boy next door, sunny and handsome, which made people feel good. Ahem. Veterinarian Smithson coughed twice, wanting to remind Zhao Jixi that he didn't need to talk about these things. He really had a new understanding of the pets in the rich people's homes. This gorilla was even more particular about what it ate than he was. If this thing didn't develop its brain a little more, it would be a waste of these good things. After Zhao Jixi reacted, he looked quite embarrassed. I can't stop talking about the topics I like. I'm really sorry, Dr. Smithson. Well, let's talk about what you just said. Our Saiyan is smart. You just said this. He was very considerate and found the end of the sentence for him, for fear of interrupting his train of thought. Saiyan's problem is actually caused by his high IQ, especially after watching the gorilla programs he has been watching recently. He may understand some things. The doctor looked at Zhao Jixi's thoughtful look and then said, especially the female gorilla it wants to kiss. Did you notice that the female gorilla actually has a little gorilla and is a mother? Mother? Speaking of this, Zhao Jixi's heart suddenly tightened. And there are those little gorillas playing, some of which look about the same size as it, and there are mother gorillas beside them to help pick lice and comb their hair, etc. The doctor said a few words. Zhao Jixi felt a little uncomfortable after hearing this, and looked at Saiyan and sighed. It's not a good thing to have a high IQ. It's really weird that you, a gorilla, can get such a fashionable depression. Thinking of this, he pinched its head. Then doctor, how should Saiyan's illness be treated? Do you want me to find a psychologist? Do psychologists have animal columns? He will definitely think, are you kidding? You want to treat a gorilla? Zhao Jixi looked helpless. That, Mr. Zhao, let me correct one thing first. In fact, there is an animal column in psychological counseling in the United States. This is also a good career. I'm also a person who has obtained some pet psychological counseling qualifications, but unfortunately it does not include gorillas. Smithson said seriously. This time Zhao Jixi was stunned. It's really a capitalist country. It's too awesome. They can think of everything to make money. Oh my god, how did you take the exam? He was just thinking that this world was really crazy. But I think Saiyan may not need to find a psychologist. You can take it to communicate with some gorillas first. I think it will get better soon. Is that all? Zhao Jixi looked doubtful. Update quickly. Pure text chapter 502. What Zhao Jixi cares about. I think it might work. After all, no intelligent person likes to play a game that seems simple to him with a low IQ guy. Orangutans are no exception. Smithson said to Zhao Jixi and added. Zhao Jixi thought about it and felt that it seems to make sense. Looking at those novels about reincarnation and time travel, aren't they all the same age who play poorly? Everyone's thoughts are not in the same world at all, or the problems they think about are no longer at the same level. Okay, doctor, thank you so much today. I think I will consult a doctor with a license for orangutan psychological counseling. Do you know anyone who can recommend one? Zhou clapped his hands and said to the veterinarian Smithson with determination. Well, I have a friend who is doing research in this area. If you need it, I can introduce him to you. Thank you, Dr. Smithson. They thanked him sincerely. Then Zhou took the phone number of the animal psychologist he introduced. Smithson also promised to call him first, and then Zhou could call him, either for him to go for treatment or to ask the doctor to come over. Zhou nodded, and finally told the bodyguards to send him outside. For bills and other things, just email them to him directly. His personal accountant David will take care of these things. After sending the doctor away, Zhou looked at Seiya carefully. Are you bored? You are depressed, even though you have nothing to do. It's really ridiculous. You can't even eat and drink well. After solving the physiological problem, you want to solve the spiritual emptiness here? You are always greedy. The old lady also came out at this time. How is Seiya? What did the doctor say? Zhou looked at Seiya unhappily and then said to the old lady, it seems that he has depression and needs to see a psychologist. This is the first time I have seen an animal with depression. Depression? The old lady was also very confused. When she was reading the book, there was no introduction to this. But suddenly, she seemed to remember what she had read. Zhou discovered the old lady's abnormality. He couldn't help but ask, Master, have you thought of something? Yeah. The old lady was old and had just sat in the house for too long. She felt uncomfortable standing now, so she sat on the sofa and said, I just read a book that said there are psychic animals, that is, animals with relatively high IQs. The problems they think about are more complicated, and animals like them have a social instinct. I think Seiya may need friends. Or the same kind. The same kind? Zhou seemed to have grasped something all of a sudden. Thinking about Seiya who was watching TV, and thinking back to what the veterinarian had just said, this may really be the biggest. Zhou immediately nodded and agreed with the old lady's statement. Yeah, I also think this may be the case. That night, Zhou received a call from veterinarian Smithson, saying that the orangutan psychologist was also very interested in Seiya and asked Zhou to contact him himself, or he could contact him on his behalf. In short, just agree on a time. However, the veterinarian's words made Zhou very unhappy. What does interested mean? I asked him to treat my illness, not to be a pimp. He still wants him. At night, thinking about this, Zhou was a little restless. These people, they are not going to be interested in my Seiya like in the movies? Damn it, let's see if you are still interested. If there is any bad intention, I will break your third leg. Originally, I came back to take a vacation, but I didn't expect that Seiya at home would be in trouble. When Zhou went to bed at night, he suddenly felt that he couldn't sleep. Even if he went to the space to practice boxing, he was tired like a dead dog for about a day in reality, but he just couldn't sleep. There was always a panic and uncomfortable feeling in his heart. He casually soaked in the river of vitality for a while, walked out of the space, and returned to reality. Looking at the moonlight outside, he suddenly felt a sense of loneliness for no reason. This may be the consequence of him who has the biggest secret in the world, and can only bear it alone. I remember that in the past, when he had this kind of feeling, he always liked to chat with Seiya. Animals that can't talk are good listeners. Zhou's feelings towards Seiya are very strange. When he was drunk, he met it strangely, and then he adopted it. After these days of getting along with it, Seiya is really an indispensable existence in his life. Under the moonlight outside, Zhou sighed, and turned around, and walked out of his room. First go to the two children to have a look. The room is full of children's atmosphere. The walls are painted pink. There are magic princesses, Snow White, and various female characters or cute characters on it. There are also a lot of dolls and rags piled up around the room. On the bookshelf are placed Barbie dolls bought by Zhou. There are also some gifts from Nikki Hilton and Paris Hilton, who know the two children. There are also gifts from Zhang Ziyi, Zhu Jinglei, Sunny and Yer of Girls' Generation. Even the naughty child Yuna, knowing that Sunny and Yer are going to give gifts to Zhou's niece, actually knew to send a gift together from Korea. but they were all for shy and shy. Zhao Jixi didn't tell anyone else about his daughter. But this doesn't mean that Niu Niu has few gifts. The things on the other wall are all Niu Niu's. There are not only gifts from her godmother and Li Shuang, but also gifts from friends who are close to Zhao Jixi and have visited his home. But the most showy one was given by Justin Bieber, a cartoon doll signed by him. Zhao Jixi almost threw it away. His own girl actually has to face another man who is not a father all day long. Although it is a doll, as a new father, Zhao Jixi is definitely not happy. But seeing that she likes this, he didn't bother to play with it. One day, he had to secretly tell Wan K to take the doll out, secretly solve it, and then give the blame to Wan K. Thinking of the scene that day, Zhao Jixi couldn't help but smile. That morning, Wan K sneaked in secretly and took the doll away while the children were still sleeping. Who knew that he happened to touch something, and Niu woke up. So looking at the toy with broken skin, Wan K was unlucky for several days. Niu, who cherishes things very much, hates this kind of wasteful behavior the most. Wan K also bit the face of the doll. Zhao Jixi originally thought that the child would not need this the next day. After all, there are still many new ones, and there is no need to find another one. Who knew that at night, Niu was there alone, taking needle and thread to mend, leaving a mark on Justin's face. Now seeing this mending mark, Zhao Jixi couldn't help but feel a little bit of the same mood as that time. He could hardly imagine what his daughter's life was like before. He could only imagine it from some film and television works. He was fragile and almost dared not ask her about her life. He was a little selfish in this life and just wanted to be happier. He didn't want to watch some bloody tragedies, nor did he want to watch them. Even in his previous life, he had never lived that kind of life, let alone imagination. Everything was too pale. He walked to Niu's bed. "My lovely little princess, Dad hopes that you will be happy in your future life." He kissed the child's forehead. "Forgive me for not being a competent and good father, but I will try my best." Niu seemed to have dreamed of beautiful things in her sleep, and she smiled sweetly again. Zhao Jixi shook his head with relief and helped the child pull the quilt. Then he went to see his niece again. Compared with the past, this little kid has grown a circle all over her body and is about to become a fat girl. After the children finished watching, Zhao Jixi went to Seiya's room. There were many animals living in this room. However, only Seiya was a big one, and the others were thumb monkeys. The work and rest time of these little monkeys seemed to be similar to that of humans. They also rested at night. There was enough food, and no natural enemies threatening them. Every day, they ate and played on time. Life was much more comfortable than when they were in the jungle. Compared to when they first came, the hair of these thumb monkeys is much shinier, and they are in great spirits. They have even gained weight. Zhao Jixi looked back at Seiya, who was lying in the bed made of a woven basket. There was a half apple in front of the bed, where the boy slept. Zhao Jixi shook his head and said with a smile, "What a foodie. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. You've become smarter and think more than before. Hey." He sighed at this point. "Are you missing your mother?" "Haha. I think so. This is something that every child would think about." Zhao Jixi touched Seiya's hair very gently, as if he was afraid of waking it up. Maybe Seiya was very familiar with Zhao Jixi's smell. Although it was not as alert in its sleep as it was in the jungle, as an animal, it would never react when someone touched it while it was sleeping. The sense of security that Zhao Jixi brought to Seiya's heart was actually reflected in the beginning. It seemed that at the beginning, he also fell asleep in Zhao Jixi's arms. Update fast pure text chapter 503, no trade, no killing. It was like the thumb monkeys that had just fallen asleep, and now some of them had woken up, looking at Zhao Jixi and Seiya with curiosity, as if wondering, why did the owner come here when it was dark? Zhao Jixi turned around and raised a finger to them, making a hush gesture. The thumb monkeys had such small heads, and if they really had the IQ of a 2-year-old child, they would have laughed secretly. So they also made a hush gesture, and Zhao Jixi couldn't help but laugh quietly at this cute look. He wanted to take out his mobile phone to take a picture of this scene and post it on the special next time. Shaking his head, Zhao Jixi didn't mess around with them anymore. It was not appropriate to play with them in the middle of the night. He walked out quietly and closed the door. He went to the tea pavilion downstairs to sit for a while and made himself a cup of tea. The tea trees in his hometown were transplanted into the space and then improved. The fine smoke was lingering and the fragrance was overflowing. He sat there for a long time until a night passed. Although he could not feel how cold it was, he still wrapped himself in a blanket out of habit. The morning sun slowly rose in front of him. Inch by inch, it rose from the distant grassland. The morning seemed to be a new cycle. The foragers seen at night had already returned to their nests. The early birds began to eat the early worms. It is true that sometimes being lazy may change your fate. There are many hard-working people in this world, so why should you make yourself suffer? Zhou thought about the jokes he saw on the internet in his previous life. He also realized something new that night. The old lady had put on her training clothes and walked out of the room. She saw a small light on the sofa where Zhou was. This kid, didn't he sleep all night? Zhou felt someone coming over, so he turned around and saw, "Master, you got up really early." The old lady walked to the sofa and found a place to sit down. She looked at Zhou kindly and said, "Didn't you sleep at night?" "Yeah. I couldn't sleep, and my heart was a little upset." Zhou nodded. "It's very strange." The old lady looked at her apprentice carefully. Although he looked like a grown man and his body was very sturdy, but from the moment they met, she knew that this kid was still like a child. His mind was not very mature, and the standard of likes and dislikes in his heart was not very obvious. Fortunately, he had a good heart. He was spoiled by his parents, but he didn't become unreasonable. She touched Zhou's forehead and went to the back of his head, saying, "You are still too young and haven't experienced enough. I can see that Saiyan has a special meaning to you." Zhou didn't say anything and looked at the old lady quietly. "But there are always accidents in life, and you brought it back, and it became smarter. These are all life. His illness now is not entirely due to you. There may be many other factors. Besides, although the old lady didn't know about Saiyan's problem, it was actually Zhou's fault, but he couldn't say it. But her persuasion also made Zhou feel relieved. It's not just because of Saiyan, but also because of his rebirth. It's very simple to be reborn. Everyone can be several steps ahead of others, based on the accumulation of the previous life. But if there is no feeling in the heart, it would be really strange. Why does he return to China less often? Sometimes I really feel very uncomfortable. People who have become the past in the previous life still appear in his present. Zhou usually has no time to think about these problems with a little philosophical proposition. It's just because of Saiyan's problem that it suddenly appeared in his mind, and he thought about the problems that he didn't think about normally over and over again. The old lady didn't say anything, quietly accompanying her apprentice to appreciate the rising sun, and she couldn't help but feel regretful that she sometimes ignored the beautiful scenery. It seems that she cherishes time every day, but she also misses a lot of scenery. It's time to go and see him. I don't know if he is still here. The old lady's heart was filled with ripples. Thinking back to the regrets in her life, she couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Surprisingly, neither of them went to practice martial arts today. The Nana saw where the two were sitting, quietly looking at the scenery outside. Several people didn't come to disturb them, and they all quietly arranged breakfast. However, when they were in the kitchen, they discussed a few words. I don't know what the two bosses in their family were talking about. Today, they didn't go out for exercise as usual. Later in the evening, the two children also got up. Under the arrangement of the nannies, they dressed neatly and sat in their seats. After greeting Zhou and the old lady, they started to eat breakfast. In the afternoon, the doctor who was introduced came. Zhou accompanied Seiya to look at the doctor vigilantly. The process was very dull, but the effects still seemed to be useless. The doctor suggested that Zhou find some companions for Seiya. His situation was a bit special. Maybe he saw his kind on TV, so he was in the current situation. Zhou ordered the bodyguards to send the doctor away. Looking at the doctor who was going away, he said, "What the hell is this? He is talking nonsense and charging me an hourly wage." He hugged Seiya in his arms and said, I think I have to find two companions for you. Do you like male or female? Seiya didn't know what Zhaojixi meant, but this time he wanted to eat peaches. Gaga danced with joy to ask for fruit, and he could only look at it in silence. Forget it, I'll get you a child bride. Raise her now, and let her be your wife in the future. And if you get a male gorilla, he will compete with you for the position in the future, so you can only give your wife to him. After thinking about it, Zhaojixi called the research institution that bought and sold animals in the past. Someone answered the phone soon. It was the voice of the person who handed out business cards at that time. My laboratory needs a few female gorillas. Can you get them? Zhaojixi said that in order to avoid any worries, he found a shell research institute set up by Harvey and others. This thing is very useful anyway. Even if it is investigated at that time, Zhaojixi's think tank has a lot of reasons to prove to Zhaojixi why this laboratory has no equipment. He doesn't need to worry about this negative legal document. No problem, sir. We are full of respect for scientific research. For the researchers here who are working hard for the survival of gorillas, we will definitely find a way to help solve the problem. The voice on the other end of the phone was very formal. If you don't know, you would really think that the other person is a serious person. That's good. Send the bill to our laboratory later, and I will ask the laboratory finance to pay part of the money. Zhaojixi nodded and said, thank you, sir. As an old customer, we can also accept cash on delivery. That's not the case. I just hope you can be faster. I'll offer twice the price. I think this will be a good incentive for you. Another thing is that I don't like any accidents, especially the psychological problems of the gorilla. I think you should understand this. Zhaojixi specifically explained who these people are. He knows who they are. If they shoot them with guns, the gorillas they bought will have psychological problems. That would be a big loss. We are professionals, sir. The voice on the other end was very serious. Okay, I have no doubt about this. I'll wait for your news. Zhaojixi hung up the phone. On the other end of the phone, a group of people were sitting in the house. After the man hung up the phone, he turned around and said to the crowd behind him, okay, guys, I got a good job. I think we can make a fortune again this time. Boss, what's going on? A black guy said to the white man in front of him. Mountain gorillas. Upon hearing this, several people exclaimed happily in unison, yes, this is a good job. Boss, how many does the customer want? It depends on how many we catch. But the customer requires only females, preferably a few years old. The white man also said happily, but after a pause, he said, the customer promised double the price. This sentence made the young men and old guys excited. A customized mountain gorilla is 15 or 200,000 US dollars, plus double the price. It will be 400,000. My god. As long as we can get 3, this business will be worth it. Yes, even if the company takes 40%, each of us can get more than 100,000 or 200,000. The black guy counted on his fingers. The white man smiled at his team members, then clapped his hands and became serious. Okay, I think everyone has understood what they can earn this time. Go back and prepare. We are going to Africa. The location returned to the farm villa. Zhaojixi felt that, as long as it was legal in his hands, it was fine. As for the process, it was none of his business. Reaching out to touch Seiya's head, Zhaojixi said in a vicious tone, you and the little bastard, I have brought back a few child brides for you this time. If you want to make me depressed again, I will throw you into the space. See if you are still depressed while watching TV. Seiya looked at Zhaojixi in confusion. How could he be so depressed all of a sudden, when he was fine just now? It thought something was wrong, and pretended to be intimate, and leaned its head against Zhaojixi's chest. After rubbing there for a while, Zhaojixi laughed. You and your fellow, with such a gloomy face, are trying to imitate others to act cute. He also pointed at it and said, I have spent so much money, you better find a way to earn it back in the future. Speaking of which, the tourism income brought by the gorillas in Africa is almost 4 million in a lifetime. How about I develop a mountain gorilla sightseeing business in the future? Fast update Pure Text Chapter 504. There is a farm for sale. When the time comes, you guys go in there and act cute and make the tourists happy. I'll get my money back. Seiya nodded, pretending to understand. Zhao Jixi was speechless. If I sell you, you'll probably have to help others count your money. Really? During the few days at home, Zhao Jixi spent more time with Seiya. With him taking care of Seiya, the gorilla's mood was obviously much better. With the Tibetan Mastiff 1K sent back by Alan, these guys played with Zhao Jixi and had a lot of fun. This day, Atwood came to the villa area and saw the security environment that was obviously different from before. He could only be speechless to his boss. If he didn't know what Zhao Jixi did, he would have thought that his boss was really in a gang or had an enemy or something. Fortunately, with this group of people on the farm, many people felt much safer. At least there were no cases of animals being lost, and no one would break into the farm casually. Zhao Jixi was lying on an outdoor leisure chair at this time, and Seiya was feeding him grapes. Zhao Jixi ate one, and it ate a few. Zhao Jixi ate one, and it ate a few more. After a few rounds, it was very happy. The sweetness of the grapes planted in the space has been adjusted to a higher level for Zhao Jixi, and the freshness and juiciness make it particularly delicious. Seeing Atwood coming, Zhao Jixi did not get up and block the sun with his glasses. Hey, old man, what's the matter? I'm on vacation now. The old cowboy picked up the hat on his head and found a seat next to Zhao Jixi. At Zhao Jixi's signal, Seiya reluctantly grabbed a bunch of grapes from the basket and handed it to Atwood. The old cowboy took it without hesitation and said to Seiya with a smile, "What a good boy. Come on, don't praise it. It still has depression now. Don't praise it to have ADHD." Atwood shrugged his shoulders and didn't care about Zhao Jixi's words. He could still hear the jokes his boss was saying. Recently, Seiya on the farm had depression, which became a hot topic among cowboys. Not many people in the countryside even suffer from depression, but now Monkey has such a fashionable disease, which is really attractive. Boss, there is something important, and I think it is necessary to report to you. Atwood ate a few grapes and relieved his dry mouth. Oh, then tell me, what is it? Zhao Jixi sat up and asked when he saw that he was serious. Mr. Haljan contacted me to ask if our farm is willing to buy their farm. Because of the relationship between neighbors, he thinks that, if we need it, he can give us a little discount. Atwood said to Zhao Jixi. Haljan? Zhao Jixi felt that the name was a little familiar. After filtering it in his mind for a while, he slowly remembered who this person was. It turned out to be him. Atwood looked at the boss with surprise. Boss, do you know him? Zhao Jixi nodded. Yes, we met once and talked for a long time. Zhao Jixi paused. I knew he wanted to sell the farm at the beginning, but I had invested a lot of money outside at that time, so I didn't want to do it for the time being. Now my financial situation is not bad, and there is no problem buying a smaller integrated farm. Then boss, do you mean you want to buy Mr. Jim's farm? Atwood said seriously. Yes, I didn't expect that he finally decided to go back to his hometown. It seems that he is another man who was hurt by a woman. Thinking of this person's words, Zhao Jixi still felt a little emotional. This man suffered a great loss when he divorced. Not only did he have to give away his general property, but he also sold the farm because he didn't want to stay in this sad place. Who said it wasn't? Having been a neighbor of Jim for many years, Atwood knew a little about this person and felt a little sorry for his marriage. It's just that the sky is going to rain and the mother is going to get married. He really felt helpless. Zhao Jixi also smiled and asked, how much did he offer? $40 million US. I think this price is still very favorable, especially this price is very flexible. If we really want to buy it, we can also ask him to make some concessions. Atwood analyzed. Who said that Americans don't like to bargain? It's just that when they bargain, they are more professional. Looking at Atwood's appearance, Zhao Jixi thought to himself. Yeah. Zhao Jixi stood up and said, I saw their farm last time. The land is very fertile. If it is cost effective, I will buy it. When the plantation of our farm is expanded, we will move some cattle there to see if the meat can still taste like it now. He lied without blushing at all. In the future, whether the meat is good or not, it will all be his responsibility. As expected, if you practice more, you will return to nature. Atwood heard what Zhao Jixi meant and stood up excitedly. If the farm is expanded, it will almost be equivalent to the first private farm in California. If you actually calculate the area, it is really possible. Boss, are you really interested in buying it? Of course. Zhao looked at the old cowboy strangely. If I don't want to buy it, why would I tell you this? Old man, there's something wrong with you today. Zhao looked at Atwood strangely, as if the old man had done something, but in fact he was just joking with him. Atwood's face had already turned red at this time, and he could assure God that it was definitely not because of Zhao eyes. I'm just too excited. I didn't expect our farm to expand. This is really great. Zhao smiled and said, okay, old man, tell me about their situation. I don't know much about it yet. Atwood nodded and told him what he knew. Jim's farm has about 46,000 acres of land, including 2 streams running through it, and 3 lakes, 1 large and 2 small. There are plantations and pastures on the farm, as well as a forest that is about 1/10 the size of the farm. There are very few other hilly areas, mostly plains, which are very good. Zhao listened and nodded. This farm looks really good. It is definitely a good location. Although the location is not the most important to him, it is also the icing on the cake. It sounds good. It's just that they don't have a lot of water rights, but this farm is not a problem when it comes to us. Sky Farm not only has a lot of land, but also has a lot of water rights left every year. It can completely complement the farms below. Atwood said again. What Zhao said made him feel itchy. Can we go over and take a look today? Atwood nodded quickly. Of course, it's a long way from us anyway. I usually go over there to take a look. If you ride a horse, you can get there in 20 minutes. If you drive, it will be even faster. Then Zhao nodded. I can't wait any longer. Let's go and take a look first. If possible, call Harvey and David over. By the way, we can hire an asset appraisal company. If there is no problem, as long as the price is right, we will buy it. After Zhao finished speaking, Atwood could only nod excitedly. He blew a whistle back at Zhou. The clear and melodious whistle, coupled with Zhao unique voice fluctuations, can make it spread farther. Zhou, who was eating grass, moved his ears and his eyes seemed to light up. After swallowing the grass in his mouth, Zhou immediately took a step and ran towards Zhao. You. Woo woo. Zhou voice came from far to near. Looking at the tall and handsome horse galloping towards him, Atwood was really envious. I didn't expect that Zhou was getting more and more majestic, and he was much more handsome than before. He is really a good horse. Zhou ran over quickly with no intention of stopping, but his speed slowly slowed down. When he ran over, Zhao also slowly ran a few steps towards Zhou. Like riding a bicycle, Zhao grabbed Zhou neck with his hand, used the force to jump up, and rode steadily on its back. Atwood was so excited that he couldn't help but shouting, good. That posture just now was so handsome. If Zhou hadn't run a little slower later, it would have been even more eye-catching. However, Seiya behind him also ran to catch up. He sped up and finally caught up with Zhou. Zhao stretched out his right hand and grabbed Seiya's arm and lifted it up. Seeing this skill, Atwood felt that his boss could almost go to the circus to perform. 2 little girls ran out after the whistle for Zhao and saw the magical scene of their father. They were also excited, and their faces blushed, and their heartbeats accelerated. They kept clapping their hands and said, Dad, so awesome. Uncle, so awesome. Zhao was very proud in his heart. He had practiced this pretentious horse mounting posture for a long time. Thinking of showing his maturity and stability in front of the children, he suppressed his pretentious heart. He smiled and waved to greet his daughter and niece. Even the new nanny who came out behind the 2 girls looked at Zhao with admiration. That look was really a word cool. You guys stay at home this afternoon. Don't quarrel or fight. Dad has something to deal with your uncle Atwood. Be good at home, understand? Zhao said to the 2 children. The 2 children wanted to watch Zhao horse riding performance, and when they heard Zhao say that, they nodded and said obediently, I understand, Dad, Uncle. Then they paused and said, when we come back, can we still see Dad perform horse riding? Zhao immediately felt like, brother, you are not from the circus, and you are performing horse riding acrobatics. But if the target is his daughter and niece, even if he is not, he will immediately transform into a circus acrobat. Of course, I will perform for you when I come back, but you have to be good, understand? The two girls nodded happily. Chapter 505 Negotiation. Zhou Jixi and Atwood came to Hal Jim's farm, which is not far from the Sky Farm vineyard, close to Interstate 140. It is a relatively large farm in Merce County. The scenery along the way is more beautiful than his own Sky Farm, but it is not as magnificent as the Sky Farm. After all, the Sky Farm is close to Yosemite National Park, while the Stream Farm is in the plains and there are many farms and pastures around it. It doesn't matter if it is less magnificent, especially the cattle in the Stream Farm look like they are boundless compared to the small number of the Sky Farm. Zhou Jixi saw Hal Jim from a distance, who looked a little thinner than the last time they met. He was wearing simple jeans, a shirt, and a cowboy hat, and he was standing over there on a chestnut horse. After seeing them, Hal Jim rode over on horseback. "Hello, Mr. Zhou. And Atwood, how are you two?" Hal Jim spoke very politely. His face was still a little haggard, but he tried his best to be more energetic when he saw them. Zhou Jixi exchanged a few words with him casually, and then several people rode into the farm. Zhou Jixi walked along the way and took a look at the situation of the farm and the soil conditions. Hal Jim also started to promote it. "My farm is definitely a high quality farm listed in California. The average number of cattle per acre can reach 5. For example, the farm not far from me has more hills, so it is good to have only 1 cow per acre. For those medium quality farms, 10 acres can only raise 1 cow." Zhou Jixi listened to Hal Jim's speech and squatted down to pull up a piece of grass to have a look. The fresh pasture was also very plump at the roots, and the water seemed to be very sufficient. Atwood was also observing, but he didn't do these actions. He had already understood the situation of this farm. "It looks very good," Zhou Jixi said to Atwood. "Indeed, the land of the Stream Farm is not much different from ours, and their grazing density is higher than ours. This is really an amazing thing." Seeing that his old neighbor was telling the truth, Hal Jim was also very happy. The face that had become haggard due to family problems also showed a little sunshine. "Although our farm does not have as much water rights as Sky Farm, it is close to Turlock Lake next to Stream Farm. If you have the ability in the future, you can buy Old Tom's farm. His water is always inexhaustible every year. Even in drought, it is the most abundant," Hal Jim said with envy. "There is a vast grassland with no edge, a forest, and herds of cattle or sheep grazing on the grass. The cattle are mostly white, black, brown, red and mixed colors. It's really beautiful. This looks like a real farm, much more professional than my own." Zhou Jixi thought about it and looked at Hal Jim. "Mr. Jim, how about the other things on your farm?" Seeing Zhou Jixi asking this, he knew that Zhou Jixi was interested, and he immediately became energetic, not to mention the irrigation systems in the farm. "I have basically installed 2/3 of the irrigation systems. As for the remaining tractors and rice machines and lawn mowers, they can also be given to you." Atwood listened and nodded to Zhou Jixi, indicating that this situation is not bad. Zhou Jixi also nodded and looked at Hal Jim. "Although you are good, Mr. Jim, I really don't need your house. I already have a very good house. Even if I don't live in this one every year, I still need to find someone to take care of it and maintain it, which is another considerable expense. If you want to bargain, you have to say that the person is not good first." Zhou Jixi can't say anything else, but the problem of the house is simple. After hearing that Zhou Jixi would maintain the house every year, Hal Jim was also shaken. After thinking for a while, he said, "Mr. Zhou, what you said makes sense. I think I can lower the price a little bit, as long as you promise not to abandon the house. It has been here for quite a while." Zhou Jixi narrowed his eyes and smiled. "Of course, I can guarantee this. Your stone and wood structure house looks very beautiful. Even if I don't live in it, I can't bear to abandon it." Hal Jim nodded. "What about your cattle? Do you plan to take them all to the auction house to auction?" Zhou Jixi asked Hal Jim. "My friend has already planned to take some of them, and the rest may be given to cattle brokers in batches, so that they can help deal with them in the national cattle market." Hal Jim paused here. "However, if you need it, that would be the best, and I don't have to pay a commission to the broker." He knew that Zhou farm was buying cattle outside recently, and he just missed the time. Otherwise it would be great to sell a batch to them. Zhou nodded without hesitation. Yes, I also want to increase the number of cattle on the farm. The pasture over there is so good, but there are too few cattle. There is not even 10 cattle per acre. Now there are a lot of grasslands that can only be wasted. For him, although selling grass can also make money, it is not as cost effective and profitable as raising cattle by yourself. Well, our farm does need beef cattle. Now there are only more than 30,000 cattle. We have about 260,000 acres of land, excluding forest, swamps, hills, orchards, etc. There are about 100,000 acres of grazing land left. Now it is close to 30,000 cattle. The density is too small, Atwood said with a pity on his face. Looking at Zhou with a wry smile, he said in his heart that this old guy is plotting against him again. Hall Jim's face was so wonderful when he heard this. He knew that people didn't take the land seriously, but he didn't expect it to be so wasteful. If all cattle were raised, how much more could they earn every year? Although the harvest in recent years has not been very good, it is really a waste of money not to raise cattle in the good years. Zhou looked at Hall Jim with a strange look in his eyes, and a little chilly. It's not my problem. I didn't take over this farm before. Old man Bud just wanted a resort. You know, he doesn't care about ability. Zhou shrugged his shoulders. That's right. It seems that I think too much. Hall Jim was relieved after hearing this. People don't need to rely on this to make a living. In addition, when the harvest is not good, they can only earn a little hard-earned money, with an income of $1,000 to $2,000 per cow. The more they raise, the more they can earn. For ordinary family farms, according to this year's market price, the purchase price of beef per pound is about $1.25. A cow sells for more than $1,000 and several hundred $, and the cost is more than $400, and the profit is at most more than $600. Selling a few heads every year can make some money, but if there is an accident in the middle, it will be a big loss. The more cattle a large farmer has, the lower the cost is, and the more money he earns when he sells his cattle. In addition, if he reaches an agreement with a slaughtering and beef packaging company, he will have many advantages over family farms and small farmers. Another option is that several large farmers will unite to form a slaughtering company and beef packaging, and ignore those large slaughtering companies, which will have even more advantages in terms of profits. In addition, large farmers can achieve self-sufficiency in feed, and can better withstand risks in the livestock feed market. This was a typical example of Jess's Sky Farm last week, which was completely self-sufficient. No matter how much the price of feed in the world increases, it will not threaten the farm. If you are lucky, you can also make more money than usual. Zhou saw that this was a bit of a hindrance to the atmosphere, so he planned to change the topic to ease the atmosphere. Everyone also felt that it was a bit strange just now. Mr. Jim, I'm very sincere about buying your farm. I wonder what you think. Of course, within the plan, you are definitely the best choice. I can't deny this. Hall Jim said quickly. What he didn't say was that Atwood had told him that only his boss could give him tens of millions of cash at once. For everyone else, he would basically have to negotiate with the bank for a while. Zhou's mouth corners slightly raised. It was expected. Atwood had just told him that Hall Jim was very happy that he could take out cash. Recently, a new batch of watermelons matured, bringing him more than $60 million in revenue. He was also afraid that too many would cause the market to flood, so Zhou expanded the production of the watermelon green elves and rejected the previous plan. He would slowly decide how much to increase in the future. However, if you calculate carefully, it is already a lot. About 4 times a year, the little maintenance fee can almost be counted. It can bring in about $200 million in revenue every year. Of course, this is money without paying taxes. If you spend it quickly, you can get a tax refund. The watermelons that were planted unintentionally are now really a big gold mine in the farm. Thank you for your trust, Mr. Jim. But you are right. I think I'm definitely the best choice among those who can trade with you as soon as possible and are willing to buy your farm. I can give you the money immediately as long as the deal is done. Zhou said with a smile, and he became more and more domineering. That's really great. Hall Jim said happily after hearing Zhou's guarantee. Then he also made some guarantees. As long as Mr. Zhou's conditions are reasonable, I think I can make some concessions. Zhou and Atwood nodded secretly. As expected, he was an old cowboy. He spoke straightforwardly. He made guarantees every second. Of course, this was also related to Atwood. The character of this old man was very respected in this area. Chapter 506, Bought and Packed. The two had reached an agreement in a simple chat, and for Hall Jim, this troublesome matter was settled. He really didn't want to stay in this sad place anymore, so he took his daughter back to his hometown, to live a good life and heal his wounds. Zhou was also very satisfied with this farm. He turned around and said to Atwood, "Stream Farm is really good. Old man, it seems that your vision is still so sharp." Hehe. He laughed as he said that. The old cowboy was also very happy with this kind of flattering words. It is human nature to like beautiful things, and it is no exception to like to be praised. Anyway, this thing is not worth money. Zhou feels that he can use it as much as he can. Atwood paused and asked, "Boss, do you plan to take some of the cattle from Stream Farm?" He said it a little carefully. After all, this is a big expense. If you really want to buy it, the price is not less than buying this farm. At this time, several people walked to the cattle pen, and rows of cattle pens were erected on the grassland. Some cattle were divided and locked inside. These were beef cattle for all Jim's friends. Now they had to select some of them, so that they could be transported directly when their people came. After thinking about it, Zhou nodded and said, "Well, we have to buy them anyway. I think the beef cattle at Creek Farm look great. You are a professional, and have been here several times. What do you think of them?" Atwood nodded seriously. He was already very familiar with the place after several visits. The boss now had the money and the intention to buy a farm. Of course, he had specially investigated it. The beef cattle at Creek Farm are very good. There is no doubt about that. I think it is worthwhile for us to spend money to buy the cows and calves within 2 years, and then buy some bulls. That's basically enough. Old man, you are going to empty the essence of Mr. Jim's farm. Zhou said with a smile, but I like it. Atwood had a little understanding of his boss's family. This kind of speechless joke was really what Zhou liked. Boss, our farm now has more than 20,000 cows and more than 1,500 bulls. In addition to more than 9,000 calves, 1/3 of which are bulls. Excluding the current fixed consumption of Western restaurants, we will have a batch of cattle that can be considered for slaughter at the beginning of next year. We can expand the number of Western restaurants. It would be a serious waste to take this beef to the cattle market. As long as the restaurant's reputation gets out, our beef will also be famous. Haha. Zhou laughed proudly. By that time, let alone the purchase price of $1.25 a pound, I won't even give you $12.50 a pound. We can operate an integrated production and sales business. According to the price the farm gives to Western restaurants, a cow, regardless of its parts, will fluctuate between $15 and $20 a pound. This is an internal price. Others can only get a higher price. The price after excluding the offal will be even more expensive. This beef is given to those who want it. If we don't raise the price, it really can't reflect the specialness of our farm. There is a line in our Chinese movie that I like very much. Zhou looked at Atwood's expectant eyes and said, "That is, don't buy the best, just buy the most expensive." What do you think? Atwood was stunned for a moment. He couldn't understand this kind of Navo-rich idea at all. Even in a country where capitalism is rampant, people would not spend money stupidly. From the seller's perspective, this is definitely a good consumer, but not the best. This makes me feel that it is a waste to give them the beef from our farm. Haha. Old man, as long as they pay, these are all small problems. Zhou waved his hand nonchalantly. The local tyrants and Navo-rich are really the best customers of luxury consumer manufacturers. Looking at this area of cattle and sheep, Zhou carefully calculated the account. 1 kilogram is greater than or equal to 2 pounds and 30 pence, which means that 1 catty of beef is 1 pound and 15 pence. It fluctuates around $17. If converted into Chinese currency, it is more than 100 yuan per pound, which is cheap. However, this is the price of the whole cow, including the offal and internal organs. This is the price Zhou Jixi provides to his own Western restaurant. Although they are the same boss, the accounts are kept separately. In this way, how much money each side has made, whether it is profit or loss, is also clear. A cow on a normal farm is about 1,000 pounds, a female is about 200 pounds, and a bull is about 1,300 pounds. The weight of the cows on his farm is of course high, not low. Zhou Jixi sells a cow for about $40,000, and it seems that the only cost of raising this cow is the wages of the cowboys and the pitiful property tax. As for the food and drink of the cow, the farm has its own pasture, as well as corn, rice stalks, and wheat stalks, provided by the plantation. Just giving it enough to meet its needs can meet its basic needs. Even if they buy feed from outside, the farm also sells some of the old grass. Compared with the money they spend on feed, this money is really a drop in the bucket, and can be almost ignored. Zhou Jixi counted on his fingers, and found that he could make a net profit by selling a cow. The cheapest one is $20,000, 10 is 200,000, 100 is 2 million, and 1000 is 20 million. Zhou Jixi now has more than 30,000 cows, which can produce 10,000 calves every year. Almost several thousand cows can be sold in a year, and this is when some cows are left. If you buy and sell 10,000 in a year, it is not a problem. You can get at least $200 million from selling cows in a year. After deducting some expenses, you can have a net profit of $200 million. Of course, this is when you get a tax refund. Now he buys tens of thousands more, and these ready-made cows can almost be sold. Even if they can't sell at the same high price as the cows on his own farm, they can complement each other a little bit, and a pound is at least $15. He is very confident about his own beef. It is not as good as the top grade Wagyu beef, nor is it as good as the general high-end beef. And speaking of it, his beef has a special flavor compared to Wagyu beef, which is a hint of the breath of the water of vitality in the space. It tastes good to ordinary people, and can cover up the problem of the general cattle breed. This will also make others think that Zhou Jixi's farm has a special breeding method, or uses some special feed. In short, safety first. This is his idea. Okay, this matter is decided. You can talk to Jim now. When Harvey, David and the asset evaluation organization come, we will start the acquisition negotiations. After getting the answer, Zhou Jixi made the decision directly. Okay, boss. Atwood had an excited expression on his face. Think about how many cows there are on the farm together. Now after buying these tens of thousands of cows, the number of cows on Sky Farm will be almost over 50,000. In the future, the number of cattle that can be slaughtered each year may reach 30,000, but considering that the herd needs to be expanded, these can be considered slowly. Zhou Jixi didn't like to discuss details, so he didn't discuss anything. As the saying goes, professional things should be done by professionals. He didn't want to do everything himself. The hard-earned life in this life is for enjoyment. Working hard is not what you pursue. Sometimes you can try it and think of the sweetness of the bitterness. It's called self-abuse if you keep doing this. Zhou Jixi doesn't have this tendency. There are also many cowboys in the stream farm. Zhou Jixi has seen more than a dozen people coming and going. I don't know how many more pastures there are in the distance. There are really not many white people among them, only about 1/3 of them, and even fewer black people. He almost didn't see any Indians. There are many Mexicans grazing here. There are also mixed-race Latin Americans, and there are a few of them in this group. I can't tell that this whole Jim also likes to save money. These Latin Americans and Mexicans have low wages, which is much more cost-effective than hiring white people and Native Americans. Zhou Jixi looked at these people and laughed secretly. It is said that many of the studios of the American people have been taken away by the Chinese, but most of the Chinese are middle class in the United States, and they can't really get to the bottom. Of course, washing dishes doesn't count. Even if they don't want Chinese bosses don't like to hire people of other colors. Suddenly, Zhou Jixi was surprised to see a man on horseback in front of him. He was a yellow-skinned Asian, but he didn't know which country he was from. He didn't look like a Japanese, but his face looked a bit like a Korean pancake face. There are not many Asians in Merce County. The yellow-skinned man under his command is not Chinese. Now seeing this man, Zhao Jixi suddenly felt a little bit of hope. Zhao Jixi sped up his horse and ran up. The Asian was driving a calf that ran out of the cow pen back. He waved the rope and pulled the lock to control the speed of the calf. Then he ran over and quickly pulled the cow to drive the calf back. Watching the wonderful process, Zhao Jixi couldn't help but clap his hands. Hey, man, you look great. The Asian just saw Zhao Jixi, and after taking a look at him, the Asian said, are you from China, or some other country, or are you a local? Although he was a little surprised why he asked this question at the beginning, Zhao Jixi still answered, I'm from China. Oh, me too. The man laughed immediately after hearing it, stamping his feet and clapping his hands excitedly. Hello, let me introduce myself. My name is Dulei, from Jianghui, China. The man introduced himself and stretched out his hand. Before Zhao Jixi shook hands, Seiya stretched out his hand from behind him and wanted to shake hands with this man. When Dulei saw a furry arm, he was startled, and then he saw Seiya hiding behind Zhao Jixi with his sharp eyes. Just now, he really thought it was a supernatural thing. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.